Chapter 431. The emperor was truly frightened by Wang Sheng's description of the frightening scene and consequences. There could only be one reason that could scare a talented and ambitious son of heaven, and that was that this matter could become a reality. The power of the royal family was inferior to that of the feudal vassals. This was a fact that would not change in the next few years or even decades. In other words, the feudal vassals had the ability to do so. As for whether the feudal vassals would be willing to do so, there was no need to ask. When had the great families of the past and the feudal vassals ever been truly loyal to the royal family? As long as there was a chance, they would not mind rearing the royal family like pigs. The reason why no one had done so yet was because of two reasons. One was that the prestige of the royal family, or the emperor, had not reached the point where it could be used for righteousness. The other was that no feudal vassals had thought of this point. The first point was that Wang Sheng had already made it clear that they had to wait for a few years for the emperor's prestige to increase before taking action. Unless the emperor and the royal family were willing to maintain this situation from then on, as long as they became stronger, they would definitely face such risks. The second point was even more ridiculous. The feudal vassals could not think of it, but would Wang Sheng not remind them? From the way Wang Sheng had casually come up with an idea to kill off Bao Qinjiu Hall, who had tried to kill him, it could be seen that Wang Sheng didn't mind coming up with an idea for any of the feudal vassals, and then letting them seek justice for being insulted by the imperial family on his behalf. There had never been a person who could make the emperor so afraid. He did not dare to make a move. If the emperor wanted to deal with him, he did not even need to make a move. He only needed to move his lips, and the world would be in chaos. Wang Sheng did not even need to use this kind of scheme. He only needed to spread the news that the emperor had conferred the title of ever-victorious marquis to the world, and the feudal vassals would treat the royal family more carefully. One had to know that Wang Sheng still had the imperial edict in his hands. That was the evidence. Once it was announced, the emperor would no longer have any credibility. He would either step down immediately, or the royal family would become a laughingstock. Neither outcome was what the emperor was willing to see. Shao Qi was a pig, and those ministers were even more stupid pigs. Could such people be considered soft persimmons? You actually dared to plot so openly? Do you really dare? Now, Tianzi wished that he could immediately bring everyone involved in this matter to Wang Sheng and let Wang Sheng deal with them to appease Wang Sheng's anger. Unfortunately, he was now playing the role of a businessman, not the emperor. Basically, when that time comes, you can use your relationship with that duke to ask the royal family for your debt. Wang Sheng finally felt that his threat was enough. So he said, "I'll pay you whatever you want, including the principal and interest. If the royal family dares to go back on their word, look for me. I'll make it up to you tenfold, 100-fold. If you want to be greedy, you can directly ask for a debt that is 10 times or 100 times more. I don't think they would dare to refuse. Don't you think so?" This time, it was Tianzi's turn to look at Wang Sheng, as if he was looking at a monster. After staring at Wang Sheng for a while, Tianzi asked Wang Sheng in disbelief, "You helped me come up with such a big idea just to help me get back the gold coins that the royal family owes me?" "Ah." Wang Sheng nodded with certainty and gave Tianzi a very clear answer. "Didn't we talk about the debt at the beginning? What did you think? You see, I asked you to endure for a few years, then find a dupe to think of a way, and finally ask for the debt, right? Did it work? I didn't lie to you, right? You see, this is a good idea to ask for the debt. Don't you need it?" Tianzi really wanted to slap Wang Sheng to the ends of the earth. You came up with such a vicious idea, raising Tianzi like a pig, using him as a human seal, and even abdicating to replace him. In the end, you're telling me that this is just an idea to ask for the debt? Are you stupid? Or am I stupid? Thinking of what Wang Sheng said, Cao Cao's words were still considered normal, but Dongzhu's words made Tianzi shudder. If such a scene really happened, Tianzi wouldn't be able to die in peace. So cruel, and you said it was just to ask for the debt? But Tianzi couldn't refute, because according to Wang Sheng's words, in the end, it was indeed possible to ask for the debt. Because at that time, who in the royal family would dare to not pay? Although this debt was basically non-existent, when it really came to that situation, as long as someone mentioned it, it would become real even if it didn't exist. Don't you think that the price to ask for the debt is a bit too high? Tianzi asked speechlessly. It's you who wants to ask for the debt, not me. The price is not the price. Can't you just include the interest in it? Wang Xing asked with a vigilant face. You can't be thinking of reneging on the reward for the idea, right? As soon as this question came out, Tianzi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If it was really implemented, it could be said to be a disaster. If he had to bear such a big price, was it worth reneging on just a few gold coins? With a flip of his hand, 2 more storage rings appeared in Tianzi's hand, and he pushed them towards Wang Sheng again, including the gold coins inside the storage rings. Wang Sheng's idea was worth almost tens of thousands of gold coins. When he pushed them out, Tianzi's heart suddenly flashed with an indescribable thought. In the future, he might have to pay such a painful price. It could be said that the entire royal family would be exterminated, and the reason was because of a manner that wasn't worth that much gold coins. If it really reached that point, Tianzi wouldn't even have a place to cry for injustice. After getting the gold coins, Wang Sheng's face was not that vigilant anymore. He looked at Tianzi and pondered. If you say it like this, it seems that this method is indeed a bit outrageous. You also know that it's outrageous? Tianzi almost spat on Wang Sheng's face. He only dared to say this in his heart, and he didn't dare to show it on his face. He just echoed, it's indeed a bit outrageous. And if I calculate it, the army entering the capital and controlling the royal city, there will definitely be a lot of people dying. If there are feudal vassals who are not satisfied, and they come to rescue the emperor, both sides will be at war. This is unknown how many people will die. The people will be plunged into misery and suffering. Wang Sheng frowned. I'm a good person. Such an outrageous thing can't be done, right? This time, it was the legendary master's turn to curse in his heart. If you're a good person, then there are no bad people in the world. Look at these 2 ideas, these 2 schemes. Although I'm an assassin in worry-free city, I'm just an assassin, not a butcher. Wang Sheng sighed again. Don't you think so? Tianzi could only nod his head. He couldn't wait for Wang Sheng to not have that kind of idea. No, in worry-free city, I was a butcher for a period of time, Wang Sheng retorted. However, even if I'm a butcher, I can't do such a brutal thing, right? Chapter 432. Other than nodding their heads, what else could Tianzi and the legendary Master Guard say? Wang Sheng had said all the good and bad words. What else could the others say? Actually, the matter with Bao Qin Yutang at the beginning was a bit too much. Wang Sheng touched his chin and pondered for a moment. Then he said to Tianzi seriously, there's no need to force Bao Qin Yutang to that extent. You just need to send someone to talk to Bao Qin Yutang's boss about this idea. Make a condition so that they will not suppress your business. I don't think they would dare to disagree, right? Of course, Bao Qin Yutang did not dare to disagree, because this idea was an open plot from the beginning. It was upright and upright. Under the banner of national security, even 10 Bao Qin Yutang would not be able to reverse it. Even if they knew the plan here, there was no way to resolve it, because those few businesses were dead ends. Of course, Tianzi would not let go of this open plot. However, as the son of Tianzi, of course, he could not do such a thing. He must find someone to secretly reveal the method to a certain feudal vassal. As long as someone made a move, Tianzi could follow behind. Anyway, all the feudal vassal states and the capital were doing their own thing. Everyone wanted to earn a share in their own territory. No one could hinder anyone. I'm a good person. I won't force people into a corner. Wang Xing emphasized again that he was a good person. Then he asked Tianzi, you see, your trouble can also be solved. Bao Qin Yutang does not need to pay a heavy price. You are good, I am good, and everyone is happy. Isn't that wonderful? And then, Tianzi nodded his head against his will to admit Wang Sheng's words. Of course, if he was really a pure businessman, he would definitely agree. As for Wang Sheng saying that he was a good person, it was a matter of opinion. There are actually some gentle and simple ways to collect the debt from the royal family. Wang Sheng then said the second method. Tianzi immediately became spirited and hurriedly asked, "It's best not to hurt the harmony. Is there a way?" This matter is actually very simple. Wang Sheng was done slapping him in the face, so he began to sweeten the deal. The emperor is a busy man. He might not even know about your trivial matter of a few tens of thousands of gold coins. The ones who tormented you must be the scum of the royal family and court who used the name of the emperor to tarnish the emperor's reputation. Am I right? That's true, but why do you think it's just a small matter of a few 100,000 gold coins? Tianzi was very comfortable with Wang Sheng's words. Tianzi definitely didn't know about it. All the bad things were done by the scum of the imperial court. However, he was very dissatisfied with the amount Wang Sheng had casually mentioned, so he asked directly, "If I really owed you a few million gold coins, would you still be able to sit still and ask for it?" Wang Sheng pointed at Tianzi and shook his head. "If it was me, a few million gold coins is equivalent to my life. I would have long gathered my troops to attack the capital. Would I still be sitting here drinking wine?" "All right, you're right." Tianzi found that he couldn't refute it. Even if he was known to be rich, if he was really robbed of a few million gold coins, Tianzi would have to turn hostile and personally deal with it. Since the emperor doesn't know about it, then it's actually very simple. Wang Sheng continued the previous topic. "Brother, don't you have connections with the officials?" They had to spend a little bit of blood and bring the news to the emperor. With the wisdom of the emperor and the admiration of the people, if he really knew about it, would he let an honest businessman like you suffer such a big loss? Why did Tianzi like to hear this so much? Listening to it was comfortable and carefree. He didn't even want to refute it. How could the emperor, who was admired by the people, let an honest businessman suffer a loss? When the time comes, with an order from the emperor, you will be compensated and repaid, including the principal and interest. How could you be left out? Wang Sheng seemed to have turned into a good person who was trying to persuade the emperor's businessman not to use violent methods to collect debts, but to use gentle methods. However, Tianzi couldn't help but nod his head. Obviously, he agreed with Wang Sheng's statement. Of course, the most important thing was that he agreed with Wang Sheng's attitude. Don't use the trick of exterminating the family. That would hurt the relationship between both parties, which wasn't good. Isn't this good? Wang Sheng continued to express, "No one will hurt the relationship." The emperor found out the black sheep of the royal family and the court and returned the court to a clear sky. After this incident, the emperor's reputation of not covering up for corrupt officials will be widely spread and your reputation will grow day by day. Brother, you've also gotten your debt back. You don't have to worry about business matters for the next few years or even a dozen years. You can enjoy wine and beauties every day and continue to live a pampered and spoiled life. How great is that? Tianzi still nodded his head. The matter of paying back the debt was automatically related to Wang Sheng's manner. It was just as Wang Sheng had said. This way of solving the problem was quite satisfactory. His reputation points had also increased. It cannot get any better. I'm a good person. I can't give you those evil ideas and let you be condemned by everyone. Wang Sheng once again emphasized that he was a good person. This time, even the legendary master next to him wanted to vomit. He was obviously the one who came up with the most ruthless idea, but he still kept touting himself as a good person. This face, even the legendary master from the royal palace had to admit defeat. What about the two inappropriate methods I mentioned just now? Brother, just treat it as listening to two stories. Go back to sleep and forget about it. Wang Sheng didn't forget to put on a good appearance at this moment. Then, he immediately turned his gaze to the legendary master. As for this person, I believe you didn't hear any nonsense. Keep your mouth shut and don't spread it. Be careful when you sleep. Don't talk nonsense in your sleep. It seemed like an ordinary reminder, but in the ears of the legendary master, it was like the most severe warning. Although it didn't come from the mouth of the emperor was sitting next to him. It was basically the emperor using Wang Sheng's mouth to warn him. How could the legendary master's bodyguard not know what to do? He hurriedly nodded his head. If it wasn't for Wang Sheng being here, he would have already knelt in front of the emperor to swear his loyalty. It couldn't be denied that he was really loyal to the emperor. Well, today's chat was really enjoyable. Wang Sheng once again drank a big mouthful of wine and said goodbye to the emperor. 1,000 cups is too little when drinking with a bosom friend. Today, he drank to his heart's content and chatted to his heart's content. Let's go back and find our mothers. Go back and solve the pressure on Baoqing Yutang's side first. Then go to the royal family to collect the debt. Before leaving, Wang Sheng didn't forget to remind the emperor, I'll go back and sleep for a long time. Then, I'll think a way to earn back the money I lost with interest. As soon as this sentence was said, the emperor and the legendary master all had a chill down their spine. The matter of the home mansion had to be solved as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would be raised like pigs. Chapter 433. When Tianzi returned to the imperial study room, the first sentence he said was, "This person can't be left alive." Of course, he was talking about Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng casually gave him a plan on how to deal with Tianzi. Tianzi and a legendary expert who was present at the scene broke out in cold sweat. If such a person was left alive, how much of a threat would he be to the royal family? Old eunuch Li was the chief steward of the royal family. At this moment, he was also waiting for Tianzi's decision in the imperial study room. Hearing Tianzi's words, he couldn't help but look at the legendary expert who followed Tianzi to meet Wang Sheng. When the guard saw old eunuch Li looking at him, he nodded his head quietly and even made a gesture of wiping his cold sweat. Old eunuch Li was so close to Tianzi that he could smell the strong smell of sweat that he hadn't smelled for a long time. How much sweat did Tianzi sweat? One had to know that with the son of heaven's cultivation, he wouldn't even break a sweat if he sat in the carriage and walked a few steps to the inn. And just now, even that old monster legendary guard hinted that he was sweating profusely. What kind of terrifying thing did he encounter? Looking at old eunuch Li's surprise, Tianzi took a few deep breaths and pondered for a moment. Then, he let the legendary expert tell old eunuch Li about what happened. These two experts were completely trusted by Tianzi. Ever since they were young, the two of them had saved Tianzi countless times. To put it bluntly, without the two of them, Tianzi would have died many times already. And if these two really betrayed Tianzi, Tianzi could turn into a corpse at any time. The legendary expert didn't dare to neglect and quickly explained the conversation with Wang Sheng. Hearing that Wang Sheng took out the gas bomb in front of Tianzi, old eunuch Li's face turned green. He almost scolded the legendary expert for neglecting his duty. Such a thing. Why didn't he immediately capture Wang Sheng and control him? When he heard that as long as he crushed it, it would release the gas, old eunuch Li finally understood why he didn't make a move immediately. He finally understood why he had always felt that Wang Sheng could drag him down with him until he died. Baoqing Yutang's method wasn't bad, but it wasn't enough to surprise the emperor and old eunuch Li. However, when the legendary expert mentioned that he could coerce the emperor to order the feudal vassals, old eunuch Li almost screamed out on the spot. During this period of time, the Son of Heaven did not sit on the throne, but paced restlessly on the floor of the imperial study. He patiently waited for the legendary expert to finish speaking. Old Li, do you think we can still keep this person? Tianzi asked angrily. If Chang Shengho hadn't told these things to outsiders. Old eunuch Li replied cautiously, if he is the only one who knows, then we cannot let him live. We have to kill him immediately. These words were actually words that the Son of Heaven didn't say out loud, but eunuch Li said them out loud. The three of them were as clear as a mirror. They were afraid that Wang Sheng had left some tricks up his sleeves. Once something happened to him, the spies he left behind would publicize these things. If that was the case, then it wouldn't be worth it to make a move on Wang Sheng. Let's take a gamble. Such an important matter. He definitely hasn't told outsiders, and he wouldn't dare to tell anyone. The Son of Heaven paced around a few more times and suddenly said, kill him, once and for all. The matter regarding the Son of Heaven and the feudal vassals was indeed very important. Who could Wang Sheng find in worry-free city that he could trust? The possibility of only Wang Sheng knowing was high. As long as Wang Sheng and the people who came with him were killed, who would know that there was such a sinister plot against the Son of Heaven and the royal family. The Son of Heaven's gaze turned to the legendary expert. Old eunuch Li's gaze also turned over. As long as the Son of Heaven nodded, that expert would get up in the middle of the night and assassinate Wang Sheng. Knock, knock, knock. The door of the imperial study was knocked on by someone from the outside. It was already late at night. If it wasn't an urgent matter, no one would dare to disturb the 3 people in the imperial study. Old eunuch Li personally trotted to the door and took a sealed bamboo tube from the hands of a young eunuch. There were 3 red lines clearly marked on it. This was the most urgent messenger bird. Seeing the 3 red lines, old eunuch Li didn't dare to delay. He quickly ran to the Son of Heaven and presented the bamboo tube with both hands to the Son of Heaven. The Son of Heaven took it and checked the seal on it. It was intact. He then used a little force and pinched the bamboo tube open, revealing a thin roll of animal skin inside. After opening it and taking a few glances, his face changed. Old eunuch Li and the legendary expert didn't know what was written on the animal skin, but they knew it was definitely a tricky matter. Otherwise, the Son of Heaven wouldn't have changed his face. The Son of Heaven stared at the animal skin for a while. His face was gloomy for a while. Then, he let out a long sigh and passed the animal skin to old eunuch Li, indicating for the 2 of them to take a look. The 2 of them gathered together and took a few glances. Suddenly, they both sucked in a breath of cold air. The messenger bird came from the Song Kingdom. The Song Kingdom's princess, Song Yin, had already found out that Bao Qing Yutang's ice cream and refined salt were in the Song Kingdom's workshop. She directly sent a large number of experts to forcibly receive them. The Song Kingdom's High Duke also issued a proclamation that salt, sugar, and grains related to the people's livelihood must be monopolized by the government. The Son of Heaven had just discussed with Wang Sheng about the idea of monopolizing salt and iron to counter Bao Qing Yutang. In the middle of the night, such news came from the Song Kingdom. It would be strange if these 2 had nothing to do with each other. Wang Sheng didn't know about these things. If he knew, he would definitely cry out in grievance. This really had nothing to do with Wang Sheng. It was obviously Song Yin who made the decision. What did it have to do with Wang Sheng? However, the Son of Heaven and the others didn't think so. They were just discussing whether or not to kill Wang Sheng for revenge. Suddenly, this news came, indicating that Wang Sheng's idea had been told to others. Wasn't this too strange? Should they still kill Wang Sheng? Old eunuch Li and the legendary experts all looked at the Son of Heaven, waiting for the Son of Heaven to make a decision. But at this time, the Son of Heaven didn't dare to gamble, especially when it seemed that Wang Sheng was still involved with the Song Kingdom. The Song Kingdom now had the most experts, the highest rank, and the strongest strength. It was also the most likely to carry the Son of Heaven's order. Once they made a move on Wang Sheng, it would cause the Song Kingdom to desperately hold the Son of Heaven hostage. Wouldn't that mean that Wang Sheng's threat would come true? That's right. Wang Sheng seemed to only be threatening. Later, he said that there was no need to use such violent means. In other words, this method definitely hadn't been handed over to the Song Kingdom. But if the Son of Heaven really killed Wang Sheng, the result would be uncertain. Under a free combination of factors, these 2 coincidences triggered a series of suspicions from the Son of Heaven. In the end, the Son of Heaven reluctantly gave up the idea of immediately killing Wang Sheng to avoid future troubles. Chapter 434. In fact, when they made this decision, whether it was the Emperor, old eunuch Li, or the legendary master, they were all relieved. It was easy to kill Wang Sheng. With so many masters, it was definitely not a problem. However, the price they had to pay was not just that little. Once the poisonous gas bomb that killed hundreds of thousands of people was used, the number of people who used it would be the same. This was under the condition that they could die together with Wang Sheng in a remote place. If Wang Sheng escaped, would the emperor still be able to stay in the imperial city? Would he still dare to stay? As for the possibility of Wang Sheng escaping, when he was still a low-level cultivator, how many masters chased after him? Didn't they all return without success? Could it be that now that his cultivation was higher, his ability to escape was worse? After thinking about this, the three of them felt relaxed. After all, Wang Sheng also said that it was just a matter of property. Why did they have to make it to the point of no return? In addition, Wang Sheng also said that the emperor definitely didn't know and was deceived. The evil was done by the royal family and the court. They even took the initiative to help the emperor. It was obvious that they didn't want to have a falling out with the royal family. If that was the case, why did they have to force Wang Sheng into a corner? Thinking about the families that did this in the past, which one of them didn't regret it now? Since the royal family was the first to show kindness to Wang Sheng, why did they have to let the previous good impression disappear? Just because of a few important ministers and their children who didn't put the emperor in their eyes? Plus a prince? Tomorrow, you deal with it. The emperor gave old eunuch Li an oral order and finally made a decision. The next morning, when Wang Sheng was still eating breakfast in the inn, old eunuch Li had already come to the door. Old eunuch Li, who was wearing the robe of the palace manager, appeared in the lobby of the inn, causing everyone who saw him to be dumbfounded. You came to the capital, and yet you didn't come to find me. Marquis. Old eunuch Li walked up to Wang Sheng, who was having breakfast with Uncle Lu and a few other shopkeepers. He bowed slightly to greet Wang Sheng. The old eunuch's rank was not as high as Wang Sheng's, so it was only right for him to salute him. I don't dare to look for him. Wang Sheng replied with a smile. Who knows if what you said before was true or false? Do you still admit it now? I already know what happened yesterday. Eunuch Li did not mind the sting in Wang Sheng's tone at all. Still smiling, he said, I have already reported this to His Majesty. Today, I have come to give you an explanation. Good. Wang Sheng finished his food with a smile and got up to leave with the old eunuch. The female owner appeared out of nowhere and silently followed behind Wang Sheng. Since Wang Sheng didn't say anything, eunuch Li naturally wouldn't say anything either. From what he knew, Wang Sheng had arrived at the Marquis's residence with the veiled woman yesterday. However, just as he glanced at the veiled woman and saw her eyes, eunuch Li's heart suddenly skipped a beat. He seemed to have thought of something. However, old monster Li was very shrewd. Even if his heart collapsed, others wouldn't be able to see it on his face. As soon as they left the inn, Wang Sheng and the female owner saw a group of guards and a few young eunuchs. They were all wearing official robes. When they saw eunuch Li, they all bowed. After saluting, they went forward to protect the three people in the middle. Then, a guard immediately brought over 3 fine horses. Wang Sheng had no problem riding a horse. He had undergone training in this area on Earth, so his riding skills were quite good. However, the female owner didn't know that. Wang Sheng turned his head to look at the female owner and saw that she was in a very pleasing position on the back of the horse. Her movements were extremely skilled. The 3 of them passed through the streets under the guidance of the guards. In less than an hour, they once again arrived at the street where they went to the Marquis's residence yesterday. It was different from the empty street yesterday. Today, the street was especially lively. The entire street was filled with people. However, other than a few cries, there was no other sound. A large number of imperial guards surrounded the area tightly, but no one made a sound. The ones who made a sound were those who were kneeling on the ground. There were men and women, young and old. A large group of 200 to 300 people filled the street. This was the scene that Wang Sheng and the female owner saw. The female owner's eyes were filled with shock. It seemed that she had never seen such a scene before. Although Wang Sheng had never seen it before, he had watched many historical dramas. He could feel the murderous aura from the surrounding imperial guards. Eunuch Li was planning to kill someone to explain to him. Wang Sheng smiled in his heart. It seemed that yesterday's threat had a certain effect. However, it was a little surprising that the emperor didn't send an old monster to kill him. When encountering an uncontrollable person like him, shouldn't the emperor kill him to eliminate any future troubles? These people are the family members of those who occupied the Marquis's residence. Eunuch Li looked at the crying people and introduced them to Wang Sheng. Those who occupied the Marquis's residence despised the emperor, disobeyed the emperor's decree, and lied to the emperor. They have been arrested by the emperor. They will be executed as a warning to others. Bring the main culprit here. Eunuch Li suddenly let out a long sigh and waved his hand to order. Someone answered. In a short while, 10 people were brought over and pressed onto the ground. His Royal Highness the Seventh Prince, a Grand Tutor, a Grand Chancellor, and 2 other important ministers of the imperial court. Their children bewitched His Royal Highness the Seventh Prince and caused him to do what he did yesterday. Old Eunuch Li introduced the 10 people below in a seemingly casual manner. The young man in the middle was probably His Royal Highness, the Seventh Prince. At this moment, his whole body was trembling like a sieve. The 4 people who looked to be in their 50s or 60s were probably the 4 ministers. The other 4 young people should be their children who committed the crime. The last one was actually the steward who stood at the door yesterday and refused to accept Wang Sheng's gold medal. There was actually a prince who schemed against him. Interesting. However, the emperor was actually willing to let his own son be tied up here, waiting to be executed. Very courageous. Wang Sheng couldn't help but admire him in his heart. From the side, someone walked over with a tray in both hands and presented it to Eunuch Li. Eunuch Li lifted the cloth covering it. It was the ever-victorious Marquis's gold medal that was taken away from Wang Sheng yesterday. The Marquis's item is returned to its original owner. Eunuch Li held the gold medal with both hands and presented it to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng very naturally took it and held it in his hand. Then, he waited for Eunuch Li's next step. The emperor has decreed that among these people, the Marquis can choose one to pardon. Eunuch Li continued with a smile. The rest will all be executed to give the Marquis an explanation. Chapter 435. He could choose to pardon one of them. The meaning behind these words was too interesting. They were all sinners who disobeyed the imperial edict. How could one be pardoned? Could this person be chosen at will? Or could he only be chosen within a certain range? If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely think that this was a life-saving opportunity left by the emperor for his son. Because as long as an ordinary person thought that this was the grace of the emperor, they would definitely ponder the deeper meaning behind it. Then, they would naturally pardon the 7th prince and behead everyone else. Unfortunately, this time, it was Wang Sheng. In everyone's eyes, Wang Sheng was a person who didn't play according to common sense. Who would he choose to pardon this time? Who do you think he will choose? In the mansion opposite the Marquis's mansion, the emperor sat under the shade of a tree with a cup of tea in his hand. He didn't drink it, but slowly sniffed the fragrance and asked, "I don't know." The one who answered was the legendary master. Could it be that he won't choose the 7th prince? The emperor was interested by this answer, and his eyes were shining. If it was my courtier, he would probably choose the 7th prince without hesitation, right? Changxing Ho is not your courtier. The legendary master gave the emperor such an answer. But in his heart, he began to wonder if he would choose to pardon the 7th prince if he encountered such a situation. No, the legendary master was very sure of his own thoughts. Saving the 7th prince at this time seemed to be giving the emperor face. However, with his many years of experience in the palace, the 7th prince that he saved would be a poisonous snake that could bite him at any time in the future. The people of the royal family, including the 7th prince and even the emperor in front of him, never knew how to be grateful. In order to make people feel unpredictable, they would turn hostile at any time. Accompanying the emperor was like accompanying a tiger. This was not just a saying. Old Eunuch Li was looking at Wang Sheng, and even the female owner was looking at Wang Sheng, waiting for him to choose. Old Li, what if I don't want this grace? Wang Sheng asked. What will happen? It doesn't matter, then kill them all. Old Eunuch Li did not care about this at all. He quickly explained, however, I will have to trouble the Marquis to meet the emperor after this and explain it to him personally. If you don't pardon him, to put more bluntly, you're also disrespecting the emperor. Forget it then. I'm too lazy to run around. Wang Sheng took the gold medal and walked forward. Among the 10 main culprits, at least 9 of them stared expectantly at Wang Sheng. Even though their bodies were tied up, everyone's eyes were filled with a strong desire to live, as well as an extremely sincere plea. The 7th prince, in particular, had a look of ecstasy on his face. From the moment he heard old eunuch say that a person could be pardoned, he knew that he would not die. As long as one was smart, how could they not choose the seventh prince and choose someone else? Yesterday, when Wang Sheng was cheated of his gold medal, he didn't say a word of nonsense. If this wasn't smart, then what was? Seeing Wang Sheng coming over, the seventh prince wanted to shout happily. Unfortunately, not only was his body tied up, but his mouth was also stuffed with a rag that made the seventh prince want to vomit. He couldn't make any sound, and could only greet Wang Sheng with a fiery gaze. Wang Sheng walked past the young men mercilessly. Yesterday, the four of them were laughing at Wang Sheng, but today they were being held here waiting to be executed. And their only chance was the special pardon that Wang Sheng had. Life was really terrible. Unfortunately, the slim hope was slim. Wang Sheng hadn't even seen their faces. How could he know who they were? Who was their father? Even if he knew who their father was, wasn't his father, who was powerful and had a high status, tied to the side, waiting to be executed? The four court officials were also pleading. However, Wang Sheng still didn't look at them. If it weren't for their unwillingness to tell the emperor's decree to their son and let their son instigate the seventh prince to cause trouble, how could they end up like this? It wasn't only the four of them who knew the emperor's decree. Why didn't the others come forward? In the end, it was because of their own imbalances, and they neglected that their actions were actually disrespectful to the emperor. The one who really wanted them dead was the emperor, not Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng wasn't a saint, and he wouldn't fight with the emperor for the rule of law in this world. Therefore, if they didn't have eyes and wanted to wait for Wang Sheng to redeem them, then forget it. Everyone watched as Wang Sheng walked in front of the seventh prince. Even the emperor, who was watching from afar, felt that Wang Sheng would definitely pardon the seventh prince, not to mention the others. The seventh prince was so excited that his tears almost flowed down. His imperial father was indeed his imperial father. Although he sentenced him to death, he still arranged such an opportunity to pardon his sins and let him live. In the future, he must be filial to his imperial father and be respectful. Wang Sheng stood in front of the seventh prince and carefully looked at the culprit who had ideas on his marquise mansion. The seventh prince tried his best to make his eyes look softer and more friendly. Then, he was full of hope as he waited for Wang Sheng to say the words to pardon him. It's just so. The emperor looked at Wang Sheng standing in front of the seventh prince. He sneered and gave such an evaluation to Wang Sheng. However, as soon as the emperor's voice fell, Wang Sheng had already shook his head and walked away from the seventh prince. He walked to the last eunuch, who kept his head down and never looked at him. The eunuch knew that he was going to die, and he understood that he couldn't get any pardon. Therefore, he had long been mentally prepared, waiting to be stabbed. Suddenly feeling someone beside him, the eunuch raised his head and saw Wang Sheng's face. Wang Sheng saw the eunuch's calm face and nodded. Then, he stretched out his hand and squeezed. The rope that tied the eunuch was broken and fell from the eunuch's body. "My gold medal is in your care." Wang Sheng stretched out his hand and handed over the gold medal. The eunuch involuntarily held the gold medal with both hands and looked at Wang Sheng with an inexplicable face. It seemed that he couldn't believe what he had seen and heard. "Keep it well." Wang Sheng's voice came again. "Don't forget what gold medal is the next time I ask you." After that, Wang Sheng turned around and greeted old eunuch Li. "It's him." At this moment, the eunuch finally woke up from the shock and understood that he was the luckiest one to be pardoned by Wang Sheng. The joy of escaping from death made the eunuch burst into tears. Regardless of the situation around him, he knelt down in front of Wang Sheng and kowtowed repeatedly. Chapter 436. No one knew that this would be the result. Everyone thought that even if Wang Sheng wanted to curry favor with the powerful, he would still pardon the seventh prince. Unexpectedly, Wang Sheng pardoned a completely insignificant eunuch steward. He actually chose that eunuch. Interesting. The emperor finally showed a little smile. It seemed that he saw something different that he wanted to see. Old Monster Li did not say anything, but he secretly gave a thumbs up to Wang Sheng in his heart. Smart. Pardoning the seventh prince had no benefits at all. There would be endless troubles in the future. But pardoning this steward eunuch was a great move. Seeing that everyone else was beheaded in front of him, this lesson would definitely be deeply engraved in the bones of the steward eunuch. From then on, he would not dare to have any disrespectful thoughts towards Wang Sheng. The steward eunuch was originally lonely and had no relatives who were killed. He would only be grateful to Wang Sheng and not have any resentment towards him. Whether he was originally from the prince's residence or was arranged to be in the marquis's residence, he would never bear a grudge against Wang Sheng because of this matter. Wang Sheng not only saved his life, but also gave him the Chongqing Marquis's gold medal. This was equivalent to using him as a steward in the Chongqing Marquis's residence in the future. Disregarding the past, saving his life, and trusting him so much, it would be strange if the steward was not loyal to Wang Sheng. When he was loyal to Wang Sheng would have one more sensitive eyes and ears in the capital and one more competent steward. If Wang Sheng wanted to take over everything in the Marquis's residence, it was simply a matter of course. There would not be any obstacles. The auspicious time has come. Execute. Old eunuch Li gave a look to his left and right. Immediately, someone rushed over and pulled out the steward eunuch, who was kowtowing nonstop. Then old eunuch Li directly announced the execution, regardless of whether the time had come or not. Even though he was pulled out, the steward eunuch still held onto the gold medal tightly. Looking at his posture, it seemed that the gold medal could only be taken away if someone chopped off his hand. A row of burly men dressed as executioners stepped out from the crowd. On this street, starting from the seventh prince, they pressed down one by one and swung their broadswords. Regardless of whether the people struggling below wanted to cry out, beg for mercy, or piss in their pants, the executioners swung their broadswords down. Blood splattered everywhere, and heads fell to the ground. There were only a dozen or so executioners, and they could only kill a dozen or so people at a time. However, there were not just a dozen or so people kneeling here. There were clearly hundreds of people. After the first round, the executioner immediately moved to another group of people and continued the previous process. After 3 or 4 rounds of killing, dozens of heads rolled down the narrow street. The female host couldn't bear to continue watching. She turned her head and closed her eyes. If she wasn't standing beside Wang Sheng, she would have vomited already. The smell of blood assailed the nostrils, and the cries of the people behind rose and fell. However, the executioners were like robots, turning a deaf ear to it and ignoring it. They only cared about beheading people one by one, completing their duty. While old eunuch Li was supervising the execution, he also secretly paid attention to Wang Sheng, observing Wang Sheng's performance. Unfortunately, old eunuch Li's plan to see Wang Sheng lose his composure failed. Seeing so many people being beheaded, Wang Sheng acted as if he was looking at a group of ants. There was not the slightest bit of emotion on his face. Instead, there were times when he would reveal a look of admiration for a certain blade. Marquis, so many people have died because of you. How do you feel? Seeing that Wang Sheng was indifferent, old eunuch Li seemed to want to provoke Wang Sheng and deliberately asked, "Died because of me?" Wang Sheng sneered. Old eunuch Li, these words are not pleasant to hear. Tell me, what evil things have I done that they have to die because of me? Although my memory is not good, I just heard that their crimes are contempt of the emperor, disobeying the imperial edict, and lying to their superiors. Did I instigate all of this? But they are after the Marquis's residence. Old eunuch Li said with a smile. The emperor has to give you an explanation. Bullsh asterisk T. Wang Sheng directly gave old eunuch Li the middle finger. Who cares if they give an explanation or not? Do you really think I won't take it back myself? Old eunuch Li was speechless by Wang Sheng. If Wang Sheng really took it back himself, it would be a serious matter. Just what Wang Sheng said about the nobles carrying the emperor's edict was enough to doom the royal family eternally. But old monster Li had been in the royal palace for many years and had long been trained to be thick-skinned and eloquent. He immediately counterattacked. They're the main culprits, but don't the Marquis feel pity for the children and families that have been implicated? TCH. Wang Sheng once again gave old monster Li a look of disdain. I was not the one who gave the order to kill. I was not the one who surrounded the residents to capture them. I was not the one who personally supervised the execution. I was also not the one who carried out the killings. I'm just a spectator on the execution field. Whether they are wronged or not, what does it have to do with me? Someone likes to slaughter his own people, then he should enjoy the process of slaughter. After Wang Sheng finished despising Old Monster Li, he continued, You want to establish your authority, you want to punish the past to avoid future mistakes, and you want to enforce the law strictly. You don't want to bear the reputation of killing people. How can it be such a good thing in this world? In my opinion, you executioners are not professional enough. As he said this, Wang Sheng began to judge the executioners. Before you use the knife, you should at least shout, Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. Old Eunuch Li hesitated for a long time and couldn't answer. Did he really want those executioners to shout, Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor? Who is his head? Who is the debtor? Let these people whose families were executed bear a grudge against the emperor. After watching for a while, Wang Sheng gently patted the female host beside him and said softly, When you move into the Marquis's residence, you go find the steward and ask him to wash the blood on the street. Although it is a good thing to see blood when you go out, it doesn't smell good. The female host made a low hum sound and shrank back to Wang Sheng's side. Wang Sheng smiled. Don't be afraid, I am here. The female host stuck close to Wang Sheng and seemed to feel more at ease. But she looked at the steward eunuch who was holding the gold medal. The steward eunuch saw that the group of ruthless executioners had already beheaded more than 100 people. When he thought that he almost ended up like them, he was so scared that he didn't dare to have any evil thoughts. He just secretly paid attention to Wang Sheng, for fear that he would miss the slightest instruction from Wang Sheng. Hearing Master Ho talking to the veiled woman, the steward eunuch immediately realized that she was probably the future mistress. He had heard Master Ho's words clearly. The steward eunuch immediately noted it down in his heart. When the time came, he didn't need the future mistress to personally instruct him. He had to handle this matter properly. Chapter 437. Wang Sheng hadn't stayed in the manor for even a day, but there were already hundreds of vengeful spirits at the entrance. She didn't know if the emperor was giving an explanation to Wang Sheng or giving Wang Sheng trouble. However, Wang Sheng didn't care. It was common to sleep in a pile of corpses on the battlefield, so why would he be afraid that someone had died at the entrance? What a joke. He brought the female owner to watch the execution. The troops withdrew and the corpses were taken away. Only then did he enter the manor under the guidance of the steward eunuch. Upon entering the manor, there were a few halls. Behind the halls was a huge screen wall. It was snow white, and there were no words or pictures on it. It was a little monotonous. After turning around a screen wall, there was a huge front yard. There was a spacious eye-shaped hall, a guest hall, a wing on the left and right, and a side courtyard where the servants lived. Further back was the courtyard, the main hall, the backyard, and the garden. There were at least 5 entrances in the front and back, and there were at least 10 side courtyards on the left and right sides. In the huge courtyard, there was also a medium-sized lotus pond, various ancient trees, and pavilions. Wang Sheng and the female owner were dumbfounded. The female owner could be considered a person who had seen the world, but when she saw such an exquisite and luxurious courtyard, she was speechless. Not to mention the other things. Just the pillars used for the pavilions were made of precious wood that was at least a few hundred years old, not to mention the smooth jade on the ground. The richly ornamented beams and painted rafters were the work of a master. This was only in the courtyard, but the furnishings in the rooms were already completely needless to mention. The furniture in any of the rooms that the servants lived in, if sold, would be enough to cover the expenses of an ordinary middle-class family for a year. The royal family was indeed the royal family. For so many years, in order to numb the other large families, they could only think of all kinds of ways to accumulate wealth and be extravagant. The wealth that had been accumulated for hundreds of years was indeed worthy of admiration. Such a place was the true residence of the nobles. In comparison, the manor that Song Yin lived in was like a cowshed. It couldn't be any more shabby. Wang Sheng even doubted that if he lived here for a long time, he would not have the heart to explore the place of despair again. It was no wonder that the seventh prince and those sons of important officials wanted to seize this marquis's manor. Just by entering and taking a look at the ordinary-looking furnishings, Wang Sheng, a country bumpkin who thought he was quite rich, was already dumbfounded. This was only the manor, not counting the various treasures that the emperor had bestowed upon him. During the tour, Wang Sheng couldn't understand why the Son of Heaven would still want to take advantage of the salt and sugar when they were already so extravagant. Could it be that he had underestimated the income of the Baoqing Yutang? He could only ask the female owner when he was free. She was the one who started this business first, so she had the most right to speak. As for now, it was still as Wang Sheng had said to Uncle Lu and the others. At the very least, he had to bring them over and have them calculate how much money the Son of Heaven had rewarded him. As for himself, he carefully stayed by Wang Sheng's side and listened to the Marquis's instructions. He had left a bad impression on the Marquis yesterday, so the eunuch had to make sure that the Marquis was comfortable. When Wang Sheng entered the door, he had already asked. The eunuch's surname was Wang, and he and Wang Sheng were from the same family. Wang Sheng saw that he was in his 40s or 50s, so he casually called him Uncle Wang. Steward Wang was so scared that he almost fainted. Whether it was uncle of the prince, which might cause ambiguity, or the Marquis treating him as an elder, it was a matter of life and death. Steward Wang knelt on the ground and begged for a while before Wang Sheng had no choice but to call him Old Wang. After looking outside, Steward Wang brought Wang Sheng and the female owner to visit the rooms one by one. Of course, they only visited the living room, the central hall, and the Marquis's resting place. How could they let the Marquis enter the kitchen and the other places? This is the bedroom of the Marquis and Madame. They looked around one by one and finally came to the bedroom. It had to be said that the Marquis's rules were really high class. The bedroom was comparable to the dormitory that Wang Sheng's class lived in. It was more than 200 square meters. The huge wooden bed looked like it was a high class. However, when Steward Wang mentioned that this was the bedroom of the Marquis and Madame, the female owner's face immediately turned red. Only then did she realize that her being with Wang Sheng seemed to have caused many people to misunderstand. However, she couldn't explain to these people. She could only suppress her shyness and follow Wang Sheng to see the bedroom. But when Steward Wang called her Madam many times, the female owner seemed to accept this form of address. She even seemed to be a little happy in her heart. Sometimes when she looked at Wang Sheng from behind, her eyes were always watery. Finally, they returned to the central hall. Wang Sheng and the female owner sat on the main seats. Steward Wang gathered all the servants in the mansion into the courtyard for the Marquis and Madame to look through. In such a big Marquis's mansion, there were no less than 200 maids and servants. What made Wang Sheng speechless was that there were more than 10 cooks and handymen in the kitchen alone. There were even 7 or 8 horse-rearing servants. This made Wang Sheng, who had never enjoyed such a rich life, extremely speechless. At this time, he could see that the female owner was extraordinary. Wang Sheng was stunned and didn't say much. However, the female owner, as the hostess, gave them a proper lecture and then let them busy themselves. There were 20 young and beautiful maids left at the scene. These were responsible for serving the Marquis and Madame in the inner residence. Wang Sheng wasn't used to this scene, but the female owner handled it with ease. After a lecture, she divided the maids into several groups and then took turns to follow Wang Sheng and the female owner, waiting for orders at any time. From such a simple scene, Steward Wang could already see that Wang Sheng was still in the state of a barbarian cultivator. He had not entered the role of Marquis. On the other hand, Madame was not simple. With one look, one could tell that she came from a wealthy family. Her actions were natural and unrestrained. From the casual questions and orders, one could feel that Madame was capable. After Wang Sheng and the female owner finished their tour, Uncle Lu and the rest were quickly brought in. When they entered the Marquis's mansion, they were all stunned. Who would believe that an assassin from Carefree City would become the Marquis of Everlasting Victory in the blink of an eye? Yesterday, they even patted each other's shoulders and drank together. Today, he became a Marquis. Old Wang is the steward of the Marquis's mansion. Uncle Liu will be the shopkeeper who will be managing my business in the future. Uncle Liu, in the future, if there's anything big or small, you can discuss it with Old Wang. Wang Sheng introduced Uncle Liu and Steward Wang to each other. However, when it came to the female owner, Wang Sheng thought about it and didn't say anything. If they misunderstood that she was the Marquis's madam, then let it be. This way, the female owner and the rest could live more comfortably in the Marquis's mansion. Steward Wang and Old Wang left very quickly. It was unknown where they went to drink and bond. Between the two of them, one was dealing with internal affairs while the other was dealing with external affairs. They didn't have any competition with each other. He believed that they would get along well. Chapter 438. Including Steward Wang. Everyone in the Marquis's residence was afraid of this new Marquis. There was no other reason. In the morning, when the execution took place outside, these people were also part of the audience. Hundreds of people's lives were sacrificed just to give the Marquis an explanation. Among them, there was a prince for important court officials, as well as the families of those important court officials and the assistant officials in the prince's residence. How cruel was this? Even Steward Wang was saved from the execution ground. It was said that it was the emperor's grace that allowed the Marquis to choose someone to pardon. Even the emperor gave him face. Who among the servants in the mansion dared to disrespect the Marquis? Not to mention the Marquis himself. Even the smart and capable shopkeepers of the Marquis brought in were all carefully attending to the Marquis, fearing that they would neglect the Marquis in the slightest. If the Marquis's ears were to hear that they had neglected an important guest, the consequences would be unimaginable. Steward Wang was really resourceful. In order to let these servants remember this lesson, he specially sent them to the streets to clean up the bloodstains. The Marquis said that he didn't like the smell. Then let these people who were used to living in the capital, and their eyes grew on top of their heads, remember where the blood on the streets came from. This trick was indeed effective. The maids and old women all vomited on that long street one by one. As for the male servants, although they didn't vomit much, their faces were all pale. Especially when they saw the traces of bloody heads rolling on the ground, they resisted the nausea in their stomachs. In their hearts, they were even more in awe of their Marquis. Wang Sheng didn't care about this. He believed in the female owner's ability. The huge Baoqing Yutang could manage everything in an orderly manner. What was a small Marquis's residence to him? Right now, Wang Sheng and the female owner were sitting in the cool and refreshing waterside pavilion. Looking at the quiet lotus pond outside, they discussed their plans for the present and the future. In the exquisite waterside pavilion, there were exquisite teacups and teapots in front of the two of them. Not far away, there were two charming maids waiting on them. Before the teacups were empty, they would be refilled, and when the tea was slightly cold, they would be changed. They didn't have to do anything themselves. The gentle breeze was extremely refreshing. Looking out, there were exquisite sceneries everywhere. It was an indescribable feeling of relaxation and happiness. This was a life that Wang Sheng had never imagined before. This place is not bad. I'm very satisfied. What about you? Wang Sheng said from his heart. He was extremely satisfied. What a joke. If it was on Earth, being able to own a mansion with a radius of 100 acres near the imperial city in the center of the capital city, what kind of achievement would it be? It was unknown how many people would be envious to death. The hostess rolled her eyes at Wang Sheng, as if she despised Wang Sheng for showing off in front of her. However, there were some things that one could not refuse. For example, this Marquis's mansion. The female owner really liked this kind of place where one could not leave even if they wanted to. In the end, the female owner also nodded her head, which made Wang Sheng even more cocky. Say, how much do you think this Marquis's mansion is worth based on what we have seen? Wang Sheng had indeed never lived a wealthy life, so he was very curious about everything. In a very tacky manner, He asked the female owner to estimate the value of this marquise mansion. In the capital city, every inch of land is worth its weight in gold. It's comparable to the worry-free city. The female owner thought about it seriously, and then replied seriously, "If we don't include those treasures that we haven't seen, it's worth at least 10 million gold. However, this is just an estimate. Even if I give you 10 million gold, you won't be able to buy this marquise mansion." As expected, Wang Sheng raised his eyebrows and said bitterly, "I thought that I already have 1 million gold, and that's already considered good. In the end, I can't even buy such a broken courtyard." Broken courtyard? The female owner almost spat on Wang Sheng's face. Calling such an exquisite mansion a broken courtyard? Have you seen too many good things? Think about it. Such a big place is only worth the price of 10 nature pills. Wang Sheng smiled at the female owner and said, "No wonder the royal family wants to increase their presence. If it were me, I would also do the same." The female owner was startled when she heard this. She didn't expect Wang Sheng to be thinking from this angle. If that was the case, this courtyard was indeed not as tempting as it was at the beginning. Even the female owner didn't realize that she had been unknowingly influenced by Wang Sheng and changed from the marquise mansion to a courtyard. This time, the emperor has given me face and even sacrificed a son. Wang Sheng rubbed his chin and pondered, "Do you think he will bear a grudge and plot against me in the future?" After the conversation between Wang Sheng and Old Monster Li, the female owner finally understood why the emperor would kill so many people. She thought about it and said, "The emperor is doing it for the sake of the law. It has nothing to do with you. It was just a coincidence. However, since the Son of Heaven even killed his own son, you should at least give him some face. That should be enough." "That's true." Wang Sheng nodded. It wasn't like he didn't know the ways of the world. Thinking that he had threatened the emperor enough, it was time to give him some sweet dates to make the emperor happy. Thus, he casually said, "Then I'll wait for the opportunity to give him another move, so that he won't be able to sleep well." Another move? The female owner was very sharp and immediately caught the keyword in Wang Sheng's words. "You've given the emperor advice before? How do you think this marquis title came about?" At this point, Wang Sheng didn't hide anything anymore. "I gave him an idea before." "What idea?" The female owner's interest was piqued. Wang Sheng had a lot of good ideas in business. Could it be in politics too? "It's this idea of the emperor infeffing the marquis," Wang Sheng said casually. "Hiss." The female owner took a deep breath and almost couldn't spit it out. She wasn't like Wang Sheng, who went to the place of thousand despair to cultivate. The infeffing of the marquis had caused a lot of commotion, and how much the royal family had benefited from it. She was very clear about it. She really didn't expect that this idea was actually given by Wang Sheng. No wonder, with this idea, not to mention changing the marquis title, even the duke would be willing. One more move. The female owner remembered what Wang Sheng had just said and couldn't help but look forward to it. If it was the same idea as the infeffing of the marquis, not to mention killing a son, if the female owner was the emperor, she would probably send half of her sons to Wang Sheng to line up for him to kill. Who didn't know how many bastards there were among the princes? Letting Wang Sheng kill to his heart's content. Not only could he clean up a bunch of useless sons, he could also make the royal family more glorious. Only a fool wouldn't do it. As for holding a grudge against Wang Sheng and secretly plotting against Wang Sheng, how stupid would one have to be to do something like that? This made Wang Sheng anxious. Did he really think that since he could think of the infeffing of the marquis, he couldn't destroy it? Chapter 439. It must be said that the female owner's thoughts were correct. Wang Sheng did give the emperor an idea to break the feudal system, which almost scared the emperor to the point that he couldn't sleep. It wasn't that he was almost scared, but to be exact, he had reached the point where he couldn't eat or sleep. Otherwise, no matter how stubborn and useless his son was, could he bear to kill him with his own hands? In short, the process of Wang Sheng taking over the marquis mansion, after killing a few hundred people on the street, went smoothly. Wang Sheng easily became the owner of the marquis mansion. "All right, what's your name?" Wang Xing suddenly thought of an important question. I can't call you by your name every time I see you, right? You're not the owner of Baoqing Yutang, so I can't call you owner anymore, right? At the mention of Baoqing Yutang, the female owner suddenly seemed to lose interest. She lowered her head, and her gaze became more restrained. Wang Sheng could see the unwillingness and anger in her eyes. Don't worry, I gave someone an idea. Soon, Baoqing Yutang will be defeated. Just looking at the female owner's eyes, Wang Sheng felt a little distressed. He couldn't help but say, it can be considered as revenge for you. Really? The female owner raised her head, and her eyes shone again. Really? Wang Sheng nodded his head. You will find out soon enough. Will it be useful? The female owner asked with abnormal expectation. It was easy to give an idea, but it was not so easy to defeat Baoqing Yutang, who was a big businessman with several generations of experience. Believe me, it will definitely be useful. Wang Sheng smiled. At the very least, the Bao Qinji Hall that flourished under your hands will decline no matter how it rose to prominence. The female owner looked at Wang Sheng's eyes, as if she was trying to distinguish whether Wang Sheng was speaking the truth or not. Wang Sheng looked at her with a smile. It was the same smile he had when they were locked in the underground palace. It gave the female owner unparalleled confidence. My name is Mei Er, the female owner said faintly. After she finished speaking, she faced Wang Sheng and slowly took off the veil that had been covering her face. In an instant, a charming face appeared in front of Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng could swear to the heavens that he had seen many beautiful superstars on Earth with their carefully groomed faces. However, none of them were as captivating as the face of the female host in front of him. It was simply ecstasy. Her name was Mayer, but she didn't say her surname. Perhaps she had lost all interest in that surname. After all, she was just an adopted daughter. Even if she didn't want to use the surname Baoqing Yutang, the surname of the Tang family was still acceptable. Just like her name, Mayer's face was really charming. Her watery eyes were like a deep pool that attracted people to jump into. The aura of a fox spirit was simply unstoppable. Her face was already so delicate, but she also had a perfect and plump chest, as well as a slender waist that was completely disproportionate to her chest. It was a little too slender, but it was still so tempting. What a nice name, Wang Sheng praised and then joked. Don't tell me that your spirit is also some kind of fox. How did you know? Mayer was stunned and then asked in surprise. I don't know. Wang Sheng was also stunned, although he realized what he had just said. Your spirit is really some kind of fox. 4-star illusion, spiritual fox. From Wang Sheng's expression, Mayer could see that he had guessed it accidentally, so she didn't continue to hide it. Anyway, she had even let Wang Sheng see her real face, so he would know what her spirit was. No wonder. Wang Sheng silently said this in his heart, and then asked curiously, then what is your current cultivation realm? 3rd stage realm. You can't tell, right? Mayer laughed. This was something that she had always been proud of. The illusion spiritual fox spirit has a very special point, which is that others can't see my cultivation realm. You didn't expect me to be a 3rd stage expert, right? 3rd stage expert? Wang Sheng was really surprised. He had always thought that Mayer was at most a 1st or 2nd stage expert. After all, she had to manage such a big family business like Baoqing Yutang, and her spirit was only 4 stars, so she shouldn't be some cultivation genius. How could she have a strong cultivation? He didn't expect that he had really made a mistake. Perhaps this was the specialty of the illusion spiritual fox, but when Wang Sheng looked at Mayer's stunning face and figure, he still felt that the strength of the illusion spiritual fox spirit was definitely not in cultivation, but in soul stealing. In the past, when he could only see Mayer's eyes, sometimes Wang Sheng was already unconsciously attracted. Now that he saw her face, Wang Sheng almost couldn't control himself. All right, Wang Sheng had to say a topic that could divert his attention from Mayer's face. Otherwise, he would be stared at by her watery, soul-stealing eyes. Wang Sheng really didn't know how long he could hold on. If you can cultivate to the peak of the 4-stage realm, I will tell you how to raise the star level of your spirit. No matter how strong the illusion spiritual fox was, it probably couldn't be stronger than the 9-tailed demon fox. If Mayor's spirit was upgraded to the nine-tailed celestial fox, did that mean that in the future Mayor would become this world's Dodgy? The current Mayor had already made him almost unable to control himself, the Dodgy of the nine-tailed celestial fox. Could he still calmly face Mayor? The beautiful eyes of the girl in his dream flashed in front of his eyes. The loosening in Wang Sheng's heart immediately became firm. Suddenly, Wang Sheng was even more eager to find the whereabouts of the girl in his dream. How is that possible? You must be joking, right? Mayor was already shocked by Wang Sheng's words. Just as she was about to blurt out this sentence, she suddenly thought of Wang Sheng's sensational experience in Carefree City. Wang Sheng's spirit could be upgraded. Could it be that Wang Sheng didn't sell the real secret? You can rest assured, I have always been honest in doing business. Wang Sheng looked at Mayor's expression and seemed to guess what she was thinking. He took the initiative and said, I said that I would tell them the secret of upgrading my spirit, so I will definitely tell them. Mayor really wanted to ask. Her own spirit was obviously not an upgraded spirit. How could it be upgraded? But she knew Wang Sheng seemed to have never said empty words when he was trading with her. Since he said it could be done, then it must be done. Thinking of this, Mayor suddenly became filled with anticipation. If her own spirit could also be upgraded, she could also become a super expert. Then if she encountered that kind of thing again, would she not need Wang Sheng to protect her? Just thinking of this, Mayor suddenly shook her head. No, even if she was a peerless expert, she must still need Wang Sheng to protect her. Following by Wang Sheng's side during this period of time was the period of time that made her feel the most secure. No matter what, she must maintain this kind of feeling. In the midst of this silence, Steward Wang suddenly appeared out of nowhere. After bowing to Wang Sheng, he gave Wang Sheng a bee skin roll with both hands. Sure enough, I was right. Wang Sheng opened it to take a look, then directly gave the bee skin to Mayor. This is a gift for you. I hope you like it. Chapter 440. Mayor reached out and took the animal skin. She stood up in surprise with a look of disbelief on her face. After the surprise, Mayor began to laugh without caring about her image. Her laughter was so unbridled that even Mayor's tears came out of her eyes. Just like that, Wang Sheng watched quietly, not interrupting. Mayor had experienced too much pressure and grievances during this time. Such unbridled laughter and tears could let her vent the depression in her body. It had to be said that Mayor was a natural vixen. Even when she was crying and laughing, her figure was still so alluring. The tears that flowed from the corners of her eyes made people want to wipe them away for her. It was a pitiful sight. Mayor did not notice this at all. She only laughed loudly and cried loudly. Her sudden strange behavior caused Manager Wang to be at a loss as to what to do. Would it be bad to see the madam lose her composure like this? But he didn't dare to leave, because he knew that Master Ho would ask questions soon. After a while, Mayor gradually eased down. She was about to find something to wipe away her tears when Steward Wang had eagerly offered a fragrant handkerchief. Mayor nodded to Steward Wang, and then took the handkerchief to wipe her tears slowly. It was incredible. They were just talking about how Wang Sheng was going to attack Bao Qing Yutang. But before the conversation was over, the news came that the Song family had taken action. They controlled the snow candy cream and refined salt in the hands of the government and prohibited Bao Qing Yutang from doing similar business. No one knew better than Mei what snow candy cream and refined salt meant to Bao Qing Yutang. It could be said that the glory of Bao Qing Yutang in the past few years was completely based on these two businesses. Once these two big sources of income were lost, it would be a disaster for Bao Qing Yutang. Originally, Bao Qing Yutang was a competitor of the same level as the Imperial Treasury. But because of snow candy cream and refined salt, Bao Qing Yutang's reputation had once surpassed the Imperial Treasury in recent years. If it weren't for the timely launch of the new snake medicine and the recent camp in the Land of Thousand Despair, they would have the strength to compete with Bao Qing Yutang again. But once Bao Qing Yutang lost these two businesses, then facing the Imperial Treasury, Bao Qing Yutang would have a hard time in the future. Don't think that only the Song Kingdom was tempted. As soon as the Song Kingdom took action, The major vassal states, and even the royal family, would immediately follow suit and swallow up the two businesses of Baoqing Yutang. No one knew better than Mei how profitable these two businesses were. In fact, this can't be regarded as a gift from me to you. It can only be said to be a message. Wang Sheng suddenly felt a little embarrassed. My original intention was to monopolize the salt, sugar, iron, and other businesses. Song Yin hit the mark by a fluke this time. Even iron was to be monopolized by the state. Mayor didn't expect that Wang Sheng's idea would be so ruthless. This was really the Achilles heel of Baoqing Yutang. Mayor liked this kind of revenge very much. Whether it was the sugar cream or the refined salt, they were all obtained by Mayor from Wang Sheng. Since Mayor was no longer the owner of Baoqing Yutang, then these businesses no longer needed to let Baoqing Yutang make money. It was really a pleasant surprise that there was a beginning and an end. Even the weapons business that Baoqing Yutang had been planning recently would be restricted. It was so satisfying. Just seeing this news made Mayor feel happy all over. The depression of being under house arrest and being plotted against and assassinated also vented a lot. I'm very curious. How much did Baoqing Yutang earn from the sugar cream and refined salt? Wang Sheng could clearly see that Mayor seemed to be in a different state after venting. That was great. However, he still couldn't suppress his curiosity and asked the question that he had been wanting to ask for a long time. Although Mayor's eyes were still red, she could already joke with Wang Sheng and ask with a smile, "Do you want to calculate how much you've lost?" The dimples in her red eyes were like a natural light red eyeshadow, which was really bright and charming. Yes, Wang Sheng also answered cooperatively. Then he explained, "I just want to calculate how much profit the vassal states will get if they get these two businesses." This was a serious matter that could possibly affect the expansion of the vassal states that Wang Sheng would have to face in the future. Mayor also understood this, so she didn't hide it and answered directly. The profits of these two businesses are increasing year by year, and the output is also increasing year by year. However, the supply is always insufficient to meet the demand. Until now, there's still many places that can't afford the sugar cream and refined salt. According to my previous plan, the output next year can double, and the year after could double again. This way, we can basically satisfy half of the world's demand. Mayor paused, then continued. From last year to this year, in a year's time, Baoqing Yuhal sales were about 100 million gold coins, and the profit was about 50 million gold coins. By the year after next, this profit will increase by 4 times. Even if the output was insufficient and the supply was insufficient to meet the demand, there would still be a net profit of 50 million gold coins. Even Wang Sheng couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Especially this profit margin of 50%. It was definitely enough to make the vassal states and the imperial family tear off all pretenses and swallow the two businesses of Baoqing Yutang alive. 50 million gold coins a year. Even if the major clans received less than a tenth of it, it was still several million gold coins. And this was the annual income. Not only that, when the annual output quadrupled, the profit would reach 200 million gold coins, and each family would have an income of tens of millions. 200 million gold coins. All of the storage rings on Wang Sheng added together wouldn't even be able to hold a tenth of it. With this amount, if the major vassal states could still spit out the benefits they had eaten, Wang Sheng would change his surname to theirs. Where did the news come from? Old Wang. Wang Sheng suddenly thought of a question and turned to Steward Wang to ask. Ancestor Li from the Imperial Palace sent someone to deliver it. Steward Wang quickly replied. He said it was sent by the Emperor. It took Wang Sheng a long time to realize that this ancestor Li should be Old Freak Li. The Emperor sent something over. In other words, the first idea that Wang Sheng gave to the Emperor that day had already been realized by Song Yin without him knowing. After asking this question, Wang Sheng nodded and let Steward Wang go first. He sat in his seat and pondered. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Mayor asked worriedly. Everything she had now rested on Wang Sheng. Even the slightest movement from Wang Sheng would cause her to be on tenterhooks. It's nothing. Wang Sheng looked at Mei Er's beautiful face. Even if she was worried, she would still be able to cause the downfall of a nation. He smiled and replied, I also did not expect this move from Song Yan. If that's the case, then it can't be considered a gift from me. When you decide what you want to do in the future, I'll give you another one. Chapter 441. In Changsheng Ho's residence, Wang Xing actually did not intend to announce it. However, Wang Xing also knew that after the execution of more than 300 people on the Long Street, it was impossible not to be exposed. If the royal family could have spies in all the major vassal states, wouldn't the major vassal states have a few in the capital? Wang Xing was not afraid of others knowing that he had a close relationship with the royal family. For Wang Xing, this was also an umbrella of protection. All the major vassal states wanted to rope in Wang Xing, and while the royal family was trying to rope in him, they were also frightened by Wang Xing. Once this relationship was announced, all parties would be fearful. Of course, the main reason was to settle down Mei and Uncle Lu. Just as Wang Xing thought before, sometimes he also needed to become a big tree for others to rely on, so that those with bad intentions would not dare to make a move at will. There was no doubt that Mei had business talent. With Wang Xing's power and financial resources, it was not impossible for her to make a comeback. However, it could not be developed in any random place, and the capital was the starting place that Wang Xing chose to establish his business empire with Mei as the head. However, it was not a good time to let Mei start immediately. Now that they had settled down here, understood the situation in the capital, and thought about what project to operate, they could talk about the future. Right now, there was one more thing to do, and that was to find a group of trustworthy guards for the Ho's residence. Although the Son of Heaven had generously given Wang Xing a marquee manor, a group of servants, and many treasures, the only thing he hadn't given Wang Xing any guards. Even if the emperor gave Wang Xing guards, would Wang Xing dare to trust them? Therefore, the emperor was very smart and did not intervene in this kind of thing that could threaten the lives of the people in the Ho's residence. Arranging spies and servants were enough. Of course, it was unknown if the emperor had other ideas. Currently, the guards of the marquis residence could only be taken over by Mei group of guards. They were all her trusted subordinates. It was said that there was still a group of them hidden in Baoqing Yutang. As long as she sent a signal, they would rush over to meet up. Gather all your men. Without much thought, Wang Xing suggested to Mei, at this time, Baoqing Yutang will definitely not care about you and your men. Take this opportunity to bring them out so that they won't be found out later. All the feudal vassals would definitely make their moves. If they didn't seize this opportunity to stir up trouble, it would mean that Mei years of management in Baoqing Yutang had been a complete failure. Gather here, Ho Fu. Mei was a little surprised. You're willing to let my people gather in your Ho Fu? Do you know how many people there are? At most a few hundred. Wang Xing smiled. This Ho Fu can still be settled. The Ho Fu lacks guards, and you won't be able to live in peace. Mei looked at Wang Xing's eyes, as if to confirm that he wasn't lying. Such a large Ho Fu, just the residence alone, was worth 10 million gold coins. This didn't include the other rewards that had never been sorted out and calculated. Did Wang Xing dare to let them all in without sending a single confidant? Go do it. Wang Xing's gaze was as determined as ever, without the slightest hint of guilt. Mei was finally sure that Wang Xing was telling the truth. That night, Wang Xing, Uncle Lu, and the others even forced manager Wang to eat a meal from the Marquis's manor as a form of celebration. Originally, manager Wang wouldn't dare to sit at the table, even if he was beaten to death. However, Wang Xing forced him to sit and said that this was a housewarming banquet. Only then did he reluctantly sit down. Before the banquet started, Uncle Lu and the others suddenly saw Mei uncovered face. All of them looked as if they had seen a ghost, causing Wang Xing to despise these old fellows. Have they become stupid from doing business every day? Such a beautiful Mei, yet not a single one praised her beauty. In the end, it was Mei who greeted everyone with a smile and the ease of a hostess. Only then did Uncle Lu and the others accept this reality. However, They still looked at each other a few times and could see the affirmation in everyone's eyes. Wang Xing didn't pay attention to these details. He was celebrating his housewarming and the escape of Mei and the others. Of course, he didn't forget to invite Manager Wang to celebrate his escape. Previously, Manager Wang confidently instructed the chefs in the kitchen to do their best to leave a good impression on Master Ho and Madam. Unfortunately, things didn't go as he wished. Uncle Lu and the others ate with relish, and even Madam was full of praise. Only Master Ho shook his head every time he ate. None of the dishes satisfied him. This made Manager Wang turn pale with fright. Could it be that the chefs cheated? He was about to stand up and scold them when Mayor stopped him. Your Master Ho's taste is unusually picky, Mayor explained on Wang Sheng's behalf. In this world, there are only 1.5 people who can satisfy your Marquis's taste. 1.5 people? Manager Wang suddenly became interested. If he could get this 1.5 people to come to Master Ho's residence, wouldn't Master Ho eat comfortably? It had to be said that as a eunuch, once he recognized a master, he would always think about how to please his master. Manager Wang was like this. He didn't even care who the 2 people were. No matter who they were, with a large amount of gold coins, how could he not win over 2 chefs? You don't have to think about it. Mayor was an astute person. She knew what Manager Wang was thinking when she saw his eyes darting around. She directly reminded him. One of the 1.5 people is Master Ho himself. Steward Wang had never thought that his family's Master Ho would be such a brilliant chef. Master Ho definitely couldn't cook in Master Ho's residence, so he could only think of the other half. Manager Wang immediately asked, who is the other half person? One of Master Ho's disciples. Mayor was extremely familiar with Wang Sheng's home in Carefree City. Master Ho personally taught him for a few years, and now he can barely get into Master Ho's mouth. But he is now in Master Ho's home in Carefree City. Whether he is willing to come to the capital is another matter. So that was why Master Ho's disciple had personally taught him for a few years. No wonder Madam said that he was only half. But Manager Wang was still somewhat dissatisfied. Among the chefs in Master Ho's residence, one was an imperial chef bestowed by the emperor. Could it be that Master Ho was better at cooking than the imperial chefs? The dishes we are eating now, almost all of them are made by our Master Ho's residence. Mayor didn't speak. This time, it was Uncle Lu's turn. He was Mayor's chief steward and naturally knew a lot. He smiled and gave Manager Wang some advice. He turned his head and joked at Wang Sheng. I don't know when I'll be lucky enough to eat Master Ho's cooking. I will die without regrets. Chapter 442. No problem. When I'm in the mood, I'll cook for you. Wang Sheng liked this kind of atmosphere where there was no hierarchy and laughter. The warm smile made Steward Wang's worried heart relax. I'll take this opportunity to say a few things to everyone. Wang Sheng saw that everyone was present, at least those who could speak and do things. After 3 rounds of wine, he spoke. Since the Marquis wanted to say something, everyone naturally stopped and waited for the Marquis to speak. In the future, Mayor will be in charge of the house of the Marquis. Wang Sheng was not at all afraid that others would misunderstand. I may be away from home all year round. You can find Mayor for all matters in the house. The last sentence was directed at Steward Wang. Steward Wang nodded hurriedly. Wasn't it normal for the Marquis to be in charge when the Marquis was not in the house? But Uncle Lu and the others thought it was a different matter. Even though they were happy to see this happen, they were still shocked that Wang Sheng would be so generous. Old Wang. Wang Sheng called Steward Wang. Steward Wang hurriedly stood up. Wang Sheng waved his hand for him to sit down. Then he ordered, you will be the housekeeper of the Marquis's residence. Discuss all matters with Mayor. The housekeeper of the Marquis's residence. This was an official appointment. How could Steward Wang not be happy? He was also responsible for keeping Wang Sheng's ever-victorious Marquis's gold medal. He hurriedly stood up to thank the Marquis, his face full of smiles. Uncle Lu, you will be in charge of the house's accounts. Wang Sheng then turned to Uncle Lu and the other shopkeepers. I'll have to trouble you to work in the accounts for a while. We've agreed on the way here. You have to calculate for me how much the Son of Heaven has rewarded me. Haha, I couldn't ask for more. Uncle Lou laughed loudly and agreed. Since they had to plan for the future, it was not bad to settle accounts in the Marquis's residence first. After they were done, Mayor happily shared the news that Steward Wang had sent in the afternoon with everyone. Hearing that Bao Qin Yutang had been dealt with in such a manner, everyone burst into laughter. It was so satisfying. The group of people drank and celebrated for a while until midnight. Only then did they go back to rest. Uncle Lou thought about it a lot. He knew that Mayor got the sugar and salt from Wang Sheng, but he didn't expect that Wang Sheng could casually use an idea to lift them up to heaven and easily drag them down to hell. With a flip of his hand, he could summon clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. In the blink of an eye, he had Bao Qin Yutang in the palm of his hand. It seemed that young Miss had chosen Wang Sheng. In Uncle Lou's opinion, this was the right decision. Not to mention other things, just this Marquis's residence, the status of a Marquis, and the endless creativity in Wang Sheng's mind was enough for Mayor in them to make a comeback. They might even be more glorious than the current Bao Qin Yutang. Compared to Uncle Lou's admiration and praise, Wang Sheng was currently having a headache over another problem. When they went back to sleep, Mayor actually followed Wang Sheng back to the huge bedroom. Not only that, there were two beautiful maids waiting in the bedroom. They had even warmed up the blankets for them. It wasn't as simple as putting 2 hot water bags in to warm up the blankets. Instead, it was 2 beauties wearing only underwear lying on the blankets to warm up the blankets. Not to mention the 2 women's naked bodies. The blankets were filled with the fragrance of a young lady. The entire bedroom was filled with a charming atmosphere. Wang Sheng, who came from a military background on Earth, had never seen such a scene. He was stunned on the spot and didn't know what to do. Even when facing thousands of soldiers and horses, Wang Sheng was not as helpless as he was now. He didn't know whether he should walk into the bedroom or not. When the 2 maids walked over to help the Marquis change his clothes, Wang Sheng almost ran out of the door. It was the one who understood Wang Sheng the best. When the 2 girls approached each other, Mei only spoke softly and said, "Lord Marquis is used to resting alone in the land of thousand despair. He will feel uncomfortable if there are people around him. Let Lord Marquis sleep alone." The 2 half-naked girls hurriedly agreed and were about to leave when Mayor stopped them and asked them to help her bathe. After the 3 women left the bedroom, Wang Sheng finally relaxed. His body was so nervous that it was almost stiff. Damn it! Wang Sheng scolded himself in his heart. He couldn't even deal with such a scene. He was indeed born poor. There were 2 maids in the courtyard in Carefree City, but they had never done these for Wang Sheng. Everything was different when it came to the title of nobility. The life of the nobility was really extravagant. Wang Sheng even doubted that once he got used to this kind of life, would he still have the courage and drive to enter the land of 1,000 extremes? If he didn't enter the land of 1,000 extremes, what would happen to the girl in his dreams? Thinking of this, Wang Sheng's heart immediately became firm. Although the Marquis's residence was good, it would wear down his spirit. It was better not to stay here. Even if he stayed, he couldn't enjoy these things that would corrode his will. While he was lost in his thoughts, Mayor had already been served by 2 maidservants. She had washed up and returned to her bedroom, smelling good. Seeing that Wang Sheng was sitting there thinking about something, she couldn't help but tease him. "Why aren't you sleeping? Are you waiting for me?" After the bath, Mayor became even more beautiful, especially under the light. In this kind of atmosphere filled with the fragrance of a young girl, Mayor's delicate body was indescribably tempting. Half of her snow-white skin was covered, the corner of her mouth was slightly raised, and her watery eyes seemed to be able to drip water. Even if Liu Xiaohui was standing here, he would also struggle with his thoughts. "You can sleep here." Wang Sheng didn't know how he said this. On one side of his mind was the beautiful eyes of the girl in his dreams, and on the other side was Mayor's seductive body. His brain was almost boiling. After saying this, Wang Sheng finally let out a long breath. He looked at Mayor and the 2 maids, then turned around and left the bedroom. The moment the door closed, the corner of Mayor's mouth curled up, but in her heart, she pouted coquettishly. Am I so scary? Unromantic. Outside, he casually pulled a servant who was on night watch and explained that he wanted to cultivate. He asked him to prepare a room with a hard bed for him. If Master Ho wanted to cultivate, wasn't it just a matter of a word? The servant directly brought Master Ho to the huge practice room in the Marquis's residence. It was fully equipped, even a bathroom and a bed for resting. Wang Sheng nodded with satisfaction and waved his hand to ask the servant to prepare hot water. He wanted to take a bath. When he lay on the bed in the practice room alone, Wang Sheng sighed, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He had such a big house, such a big Marquis's residence, but he didn't have a place to sleep. He had to make do with the practice room for the night. It was really sad. Chapter 443. When he woke up in the morning, according to his biological clock, Steward Wang was already waiting at the door. He heard that the Marquis was going to cultivate in the training room in the middle of the night and hurried over. After a short rest, he waited at the door. Seeing the Marquis wake up so early, Steward Wang couldn't help but admire him. To be able to persist in cultivating under the temptation of a beauty like Madame, it was no wonder that the Emperor would look at the Marquis in such a different light. After eating a little, Wang Sheng began his morning training with the tools and equipment in the training room. Steward Wang had been waiting at the door. Even if there was something, he would instruct the others at the door and then follow. Although Wang Sheng had already said that Mei would be in charge of the matters in the Fu, Steward Wang was a smart person. As long as the Marquis was in the Fu, he would definitely be by the Marquis's side. After officially eating breakfast, Uncle Lu and the others were preparing to really start the work of checking the property in the Fu when there was a commotion at the door of the Marquis Fu. Steward Wang hurried to the door to take a look and instantly became happy. He opened the side door of the Marquis Fu and drove one cart after another into the Marquis Fu. When Mayor received the news, the cart had already filled up the 2 courtyards, and there were almost as many carts waiting behind. It was said that the carts that had finished unloading still had to make a few trips to transport all the things over. What's going on? Wang Sheng looked at the large pile of things and was puzzled. What did this mean? Marquis, Steward Wang, came up to report. These things are the property of the 4 important officials. The Emperor has ordered that everything be sent to the Marquis Fu. It seemed that the Emperor had lost his mind in wanting to rope in Wang Sheng. Not only the Marquis Fu and all the treasures in the Fu, even the homes of the 4 important officials were sent over. The 4 old fellows definitely didn't expect that when they deliberately treated Wang Sheng as a soft persimmon and hinted that their children instigated the 7th prince to seize the Marquis Fu of Wang Sheng, there would be a day when their entire family would be executed and their property would be sent to Wang Sheng Fu. The second group of caravans not only brought a lot of treasures, but also hundreds of people. They were all unimportant maids, old maids, servants, and servants of the 4 families. The main family was convicted, and these people were all reduced to slaves. Then, they were rewarded to Wang Sheng, saying that it was to make up for Wang Sheng's mental damage. Hundreds of people were strung together by a few ropes, forming a long line. Everyone's faces were filled with unconcealable panic. They didn't know what their fate would be, and they didn't know what kind of master they would face. All of them were terrified, but they couldn't escape. Wang Sheng could only smile bitterly and helplessly. It was said that it was to make up for Wang Sheng's mental loss. It sounded good, but there were suddenly hundreds of people in the manor. Each one of them had a mouth, and they had to rely on Wang Sheng, the Marquis, to make a living. Although these treasures were enough for them to spend, Wang Sheng was alone in this world. Why would he need so many people to serve him? When he didn't have power, he didn't have power. Alone, when he sent over hundreds of people, Wang Sheng really had a headache. Fortunately, there was Mayor, the former owner of Baoqing Yutang, and Uncle Lu and the other shopkeepers of Baoqing Yutang. With the help of Steward Wang, they assigned the old people of the manor to quickly arrange these hundreds of people into the courtyard where the 3 servants lived. They first untied the ropes, drank some water, ate some food, and settled down. When everyone was free, they would make more detailed arrangements. Mayor was indeed a businesswoman. When she saw the carts of goods and the servants, she beamed with joy. She was so happy that she couldn't even open her eyes. Her giggling made Wang Sheng clearly feel her happiness and happiness. With outsiders around, Mayor put on her veil again. That charming face was also covered under the veil, so that when Wang Sheng faced her, he didn't have to work hard to resist her temptation. Mei Er's happy laughter was really infectious. Even a rich marquis like Wang Sheng, who didn't care about gold coins, had a cheerful smile on his face. He was really happy for Mei Er. Since the beginning of the mission in the Ground of Thousand Despair, Wang Sheng hadn't seen Mei Er so happy. Uncle Lu and the others, who really had to do the work, were happy at the beginning when they saw these things. They were businessmen, after all. Seeing the gold coins in their storehouse continuously increasing, they would definitely be happy. These things in front of them were piles and piles of gold coins. But when these carts of goods were sent over, and the fifth courtyard was filled to the brim, Uncle Lu and the others' smiling faces slowly turned into crying faces. One had to know that they were the ones doing the work, and they had to count these things one by one. How long would it take for them to do so? Fortunately, along with the confiscated property, there were also scrolls of account books that could be used to search for clues. But just by looking at the account books, there were hundreds of animal skin scrolls that were as thick as thighs. Each of them had more than 10 scrolls. What did it mean to be in pain and happy? This was it. Uncle Lu and the others probably never thought that there would be a day when they would be distressed by having too much money. Uncle Lu, I think you will have to live a life of counting money until your hands get cramps for a long time. Wang Sheng looked at Uncle Lu, whose smile was getting smaller and whose mouth was getting wider and wider, and teased him. Uncle Lu's smile looked like he was crying, and it made Mayor extremely happy. Looking at Mayor's smile, Uncle Lu and the others felt a wave of emotion in their hearts. It had been a long time since they saw Miss smile so happily. If she could continue smiling like this, they would be willing to tire themselves to death. Dozens of carts went back and forth 4 to 5 times, and the goods that were transported overfilled up 8 courtyards. In the end, there was no more space, and even the back garden of the manor took up half of the goods. Only then did they put everything down. He didn't know what method Mayer used. It was probably some sort of reward or something. In any case, the servants of the Marquis's residence were all in high spirits. Their bodies seemed to have an inexhaustible amount of energy and were full of energy. Of course, no one dared to have any thoughts of embezzlement. The scene of hundreds of heads falling to the ground happened yesterday. When they were in charge of cleaning up the bloodstains on the streets, the smell of blood that soared into the sky was something they would remember for the rest of their lives. The entire manor was filled with busy people running around, not to mention the servants who were ordered around. Even Mayor and Steward Wang were so busy that their feet didn't even touch the ground. In such a huge manor, Wang Sheng was probably the only person who had nothing to do. It was so chaotic that it was impossible for Wang Sheng to cultivate even if he wanted to. He could only wander around casually. After a while, Steward Wang hurriedly ran over to report that Steward Li from the Imperial Palace wanted to see him. Elderly, if you want to come, then come. Why do you need to report? Wang Sheng welcomed old monster Li into the manor and grumbled without any regard for himself. In the future, if you want to see me, just come in yourself. Don't be so polite. Chapter 444. Old Eunuch Li liked Wang Sheng's attitude very much. Wang Sheng did not put on airs just because he had become a marquis. He was still so easygoing, which was very good. In the palace, Old Eunuch Li was the eunuch with the highest power. Even Steward Wang of Wang Sheng's residence had to respectfully call him Ancestor Li. In the palace, he had seen many people flattering him while secretly pulling out knives. He had also seen many bullish *T things, but there had never been anyone like Wang Sheng, treating him as an outsider. Eunuchs more or less had some psychological problems. Even the all-powerful old monster Li was the same. From the bottom of his heart, Wang Sheng and Old Eunuch Li had a master-disciple relationship after a month of cultivation guidance, so they were closer psychologically than others. Wang Sheng treated Old Monster Li with a modern mentality of equality. He did not deliberately flatter him, nor did he put on airs to look at others. They were all human beings, equal. If one had to say that they were unequal, it would be that Old Monster Li's cultivation base was higher while Wang Sheng's cultivation base was lower. However, Wang Sheng did not feel inferior. He spoke to Old Monster Li as if they were equals. This was something that Old Monster Li had never experienced in his life. In Old Monster Li's life, he had either been trampled underfoot by others and tried his best to curry favor with others, or he had been high and mighty and was flattered by others. His only loyalty was to the emperor, but the emperor didn't give him the respect of being on an equal footing. Therefore, Wang Sheng's place was the place that made Old Monster Li the most relaxed. After drinking tea and chatting for a while, Wang Sheng asked, "Old Li, you came here for something?" "Of course." Old Eunuch Li put down his teacup and looked straight at Wang Sheng. He suddenly asked, "Marquis, do you keep your word?" Calling him Marquis meant that it was a serious matter related to the court. Wang Sheng nodded without hesitation. "I don't seem to have a precedent of breaking my word, right?" "That's good." Old Eunuch Li laughed. Then the Marquis said yesterday afternoon that if there was a chance, he would give the Son of Heaven another move, so that the Son of Heaven wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. Is this still true? Wang Sheng's eyes suddenly sharpened and pierced towards Old Monster Li like a spear. Wang Sheng had indeed said this before, when he and Mayer were drinking tea at the waterside pavilion. What he said yesterday afternoon, he came to ask him this morning. It was obvious that he had planted a spy in Wang Sheng's Marquis Fu. Old Monster Li met Wang Sheng's gaze as if nothing had happened. The Son of Heaven had bestowed upon Wang Sheng an entire Marquis residence. It would be abnormal if there weren't a few eyes and ears of the Son of Heaven inside. Damn it. Wang Sheng gave Old Monster Li the middle finger and stared at him fiercely. Then he put it down fiercely as if nothing had happened. "If the eyes and ears you've planted here are the kind of big men who dig their feet, I'll skin them." Thinking about it, Wang Sheng felt unhappy and couldn't help threatening him. Big men who dig their feet. Old Monster Li was amused by Wang Sheng's words. He chuckled like a night owl and replied, "Don't worry, they're all beautiful women with long legs, thin waists, and big breasts that you like. You can have them whenever you want them. They won't resist at all." Yesterday, in addition to Steward Wang and the personal maids of the inner residence, there was no one else but them in the waterside pavilion. Wang Sheng even suspected that every one of them was a spy arranged by the royal family in his Marquis Fu. Now, Old Monster Li had admitted it. Damn it! Wang Sheng cursed again and then said lazily, "Yes, I do. Go back and tell him. Tell him to put his worries in his stomach. However, in the future, if anyone in the capital dares to play with me like this, I'll make sure he can't sleep every night." "Then what's Chongqing Hoji's move?" Old Monster Li asked with a smile. He knew that Wang Sheng wouldn't care if there were any eyes and ears around him. "Say it here?" Wang Sheng pointed at the scene of people running around outside and curled his lips. "I dare say it. But aren't you afraid of being heard by others?" Old Monster Li also realized that he was too impatient. This environment was obviously not suitable. He was already satisfied to get a positive answer from Wang Sheng today. It was better not to make the mistake of being eager for quick success. "Go back and tell the emperor that I'll treat him to drinks and skewers some other day, and then we'll chat slowly." Wang Sheng said casually, "Tell him not to worry about being unable to sleep. I'm a very lazy person, but at least I'm satisfied with the current situation." "Thank you, Marquis." Old Eunuch Li cupped his hands and thanked Wang Sheng formally. He was thanking Wang Sheng on behalf of the emperor. "Let's not talk about these empty words. Did you come here for this?" Wang Sheng waved his hand. He was very unhappy that Old Monster Li was speaking so seriously. "There are a few more things." Old Monster Li smiled and relaxed his posture. He also liked to relax at Wang Sheng's place. He didn't need to be so tense. First, all the other countries have received the news that the Song Kingdom has made a move against Baoqin Yutang. They have already started to plan to turn their salt and sugar businesses into official ones. Old Monster Li began to report to Wang Sheng. In less than a month, Bao Qing Yutang will be greatly weakened. I believe that Miss Mei will be very happy to hear this news. He even knew Mei Er's name. It would be strange if he wasn't one of the servants in the inner residence. Wang Sheng pondered in his heart and nodded. This news would indeed make Mei Er very happy. Secondly, the emperor knows that you have just added a group of people. The more people there are, the more things will be complicated. Miss Mei, it doesn't have many powerful guard around her. It's not safe enough. Old Monster Lee continued to circle around Mei Er and said, so I specially arranged a few female guards to be in charge of Miss Mei Er's personal protection. As he said this, Old Monster Lee tilted his head. From outside, 6 female guards who looked like experts walked in. All of them were wearing the same uniform of the Imperial Guards. They looked valiant and heroic. The weakest one, Wang Sheng, seemed to have a cultivation of the 6th degree realm. The emperor still didn't dare to be completely at ease. So he wanted to use Mei Er to guard against him. Don't get me wrong. They are purely to protect Miss Mei Er's safety. Old Monster Lee saw through Wang Sheng's thoughts at a glance. The eyes and ears are not the same. We don't need to play this kind of game in front of you. You can rest assured. It would be strange if he could rest assured. Wang Sheng could only curse in his heart. It doesn't matter if you are worried. You can take them all in. Old Monster Lee saw through Wang Sheng's thoughts at a glance. He said with a sinister smile, they will be in charge of protecting Miss Mei Er during the day and you at night. Old pervert, you are still a eunuch. Wang Sheng cursed again in his heart. But this idea seemed to be very tempting. Marquis, quickly count and tidy up these things. Old Monster Lee reminded him again. What do you mean? Wang Sheng didn't understand what this plan was and asked. The 7th prince's residence is still being searched. Old Monster Lee smiled and said, when the search is finished, I will send it to your residence. Chapter 445. I can't stay in this place anymore. A good place to cultivate one's temperament was turned into a treasury by the Son of Heaven, and it was an incomparably vulgar treasury. Do I look like someone who lacks money? To think that the Son of Heaven could think of using gold coins to attack me. No, in addition to using gold coins, they also used power and beauties to corrupt me. How shameless. Fortunately, I'm a firm communist fighter and won't fall for your tricks. Sugar-coated bullet, right? Eat the sugar coating and throw the bullet back. Looking at Mei Er happily leaving with the 6 female guards, Wang Sheng rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Mei Er trusted Wang Sheng without a doubt. Since Wang Sheng said that these guards could be trusted, she didn't have any doubts and brought them with her. However, Wang Sheng had a nagging feeling that something was amiss. However, after thinking about it carefully, he couldn't figure out what it was. Marquis, the Son of Heaven really treats you well. Steward Wang also looked at the 6 female guards with a face full of honor. Oh, how so? What else is there to pay attention to? Wang Sheng didn't know much about officialdom, let alone the royal family. Fortunately, Steward Wang was definitely an old fox. It was always right to ask him. The Son of Heaven assigned these guards to Madam. They are experts that can only be used by the Empress and a few concubines in the palace. Occasionally, there are 1 or 2 extremely favored princesses who can have this treatment. Steward Wang quickly replied, the Son of Heaven is giving Madam the status of a princess. Princess? Wang Sheng pondered more and more. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he thought of something. From the beginning until now, Steward Wang had always called Madam, but Old Monster Lee had always called Miss Mei Er. The difference in terms of address had different meanings. In other words, the Son of Heaven didn't treat Mei Er as Wang Sheng's Marquis Madam, but treated her separately. In other words, these 6 female experts were really sent to protect Mei Er. Were they trying to monitor and blackmail Wang Sheng? Yes, but that was definitely not the most important thing. Their main mission should be to protect Mei Er. It seemed that Wang Sheng remembered very clearly that the look in Old Monster Lee's eyes seemed to have changed when he first saw Mei Er. He thought that Wang Sheng didn't see it, but he didn't expect Wang Sheng's vision to be so abnormal. When facing Old Freak Lee, Wang Sheng had to keep a close eye on his every move, fearing that he might miss out on something. Could it be that there was something Wang Sheng didn't understand? Mei Er was the adopted daughter of Bao Qing Yutang. Was this related? But as for what it was, he would have to slowly explore it in the future. After a busy day, they finally settled down the slaves and had a place to sleep at night. In addition, sheds were first set up in those courtyards to cover the valuables, so that a large number of valuables wouldn't be soaked in the water when the weather changed. They didn't do anything else for the whole day except for this, which made everyone busy until late at night. As a result, when Wang Sheng had dinner with everyone in the evening, he was still not satisfied. "It's a bit slow," Wang Sheng said to Uncle Lu and Steward Wang. "Count them as soon as possible and divide them into categories. Count those that need to be kept and those that need to be sold as soon as possible. Whether it's to open a shop or sell it to someone else, we have to vacate the place." "Are you in such a hurry?" Mayor was also busy for the whole day. Her head was dizzy, but Wang Sheng still complained that it was slow. She couldn't help but pout her cute little mouth and asked. In front of these people, she didn't wear a veil. She was peerless and charming. Her annoyance and smile could move people's hearts. "What's the matter?" "Nothing important." Recalling old Monster Li's last words, Wang Sheng couldn't help but smile bitterly. "If we don't clear them out and make room, there won't be room for more things." Mayor, Uncle Lu, and the others looked at Wang Sheng in confusion. There was more? "Do you know the old eunuch who came this morning?" Wang Sheng unceremoniously addressed old Monster Li as an old eunuch. This made Steward Wang, who had been addressing old Monster Li as Ancestor Li, grit his teeth. However, he did not dare to express anything. This was Master Ho. Calling Ancestor Li as an old monster in front of him did not mean anything to Ancestor Li. "I know. Manager Li, what's wrong?" Mayor saw old Monster Li, but she didn't talk to him. Not far from her, there were two female guards waiting to protect her. He said. Wang Sheng paused. When everyone was looking forward to it, he said, "The seventh prince's mansion is still being searched. When it is finished, he will send the things over." Wang Sheng looked at everyone's eyes widened, as if he was appreciating it. He said with some amusement, "Manager Li said that the seventh prince's mansion is bigger than the other four families combined. The things are also more than the four families combined. If he sends them over, you tell me, where should we put them?" After Wang Sheng finished speaking, Mayor's charming peach blossom eyes immediately radiated light. "There are more? Great. Miser." She had no common language with him. He was ashamed to be associated with her. Wang Sheng looked at Mayor with unusual contempt. He grabbed the chopsticks made of the seven-star mountain uprooting elephant's tusks in front of him. He picked up a mouthful of the dish that everyone almost swallowed their tongues, but Wang Sheng felt was not so perfect. Then, he picked up the cup made of the seven-star jasper rhinoceros horn and drank a cup of good wine that was said to have been aged for 30 years. He sighed deeply. It was fine as long as it could hold food. What was the use of such a big sheep-fat, white jade plate with carvings at the bottom? How good could it be? If he had the time, he might as well study his culinary skills. Although the chair made of stardust wood was warm in winter and cool in summer, it was really uncomfortable. It was far less comfortable than a sofa. One day, he would make a real leather sofa to sit on. When he took a stroll in the afternoon, he saw that there were at least 2 rooms of seven-star demon beast skin. When he had time, he would go and pick one. Uncle Lu and the others, as well as Manager Wang, had smiles in their eyes, but their faces were so twisted. They were already so old. Who were they complaining to? "I reckon that it won't stop for 10 days to half a month." Wang Sheng said to everyone, "Mayor, you have to work hard. Uncle Lu, old Wang, you also have to help out. Clean it up as soon as possible. Sell what should be sold. The gold coins will be the capital for your next business." "What about you?" Mayor was very smart. She heard something different from Wang Sheng's words and asked anxiously. She had just found a place to settle down. If Wang Sheng left her alone, it would be big trouble. "I'm going out for a while. Recently, I have some doubts about my cultivation. I'm going to find someone who understands and ask for advice." Wang Sheng sighed. Looking at Mayor's pitiful eyes, he smiled and said, "Don't worry. When you're done packing, you'll be back." Chapter 446. Everyone was speechless when they heard that Master Ho was going to leave to seek advice on cultivation. Everyone knew that power was one thing in this world, but it was limited to the capital. Outside the capital, Master Ho was worthless. What really made people look up to him was his cultivation. Therefore, no one stopped him, and no one tried to dissuade him. After eating and drinking, Wang Sheng planned to rest for the night before leaving. At night, he still had to face the awkwardness from last night. Anyway, Mei was certain that Wang Sheng would win. Every time she occupied the bedroom, she would wash herself until she smelled good and wore a thin bathrobe. Wang Sheng's eyes almost popped out of his head. He didn't know what kind of perseverance it took to divert his attention away from Mei. I'm leaving early tomorrow morning. Wang Sheng forcefully resisted the temptation from not far away and said to Mei, "You should give me what you promised me, right?" When Wang Sheng agreed to bring Mei into the grounds of Thousand Despair, it was because Mei had promised to give him a map of the core formation of the grounds of Thousand Despair. This was a condition that they had agreed on a long time ago, but Wang Sheng didn't mention it until now. When Mei heard that Wang Sheng wanted this, she couldn't help but forget to seduce Wang Sheng and asked in surprise, "You're not planning to cultivate in the core formation of the grounds of Thousand Despair, are you?" "I'm not stupid. Why would I do such a stupid thing?" Wang Sheng was speechless. She could think so much about a map of the grounds of Thousand Despair, he really had to give it to her. "Oh, that's good." Mei patted her chest. Her bathrobe wasn't very tight, revealing a large V-shaped snow-white chest and a deep ravine. Seeing her slender hand patting the snow-white chest, Wang Sheng almost turned into a pervert and pounced on her. This little girl, when she wore a veil in the past, he didn't know that she was so irresistible. Now that she was like this, if she really did something, how could he resist? Here, since Wang Sheng could resist her temptation, Mei didn't make any further moves. She just took out a slender scroll from her storage ring and handed it to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng took it but didn't open it. In terms of honest transactions, Mei had never lied to anyone before. There was no doubt about that. Wang Sheng was thinking about another problem. "Why do you always use bee skin scrolls?" Puzzled, Wang Sheng asked. "Cultivation secret manuals are animal skin scrolls. Pill recipes are animal skin scrolls. Account books are animal skin scrolls. And maps are animal skin scrolls. Can't we use paper?" There was paper in this world. Wang Sheng used it when he was practicing the 8 strokes calligraphy of Yon. He also used oiled paper when he was selling meat in Carefree City. Even the windows of ordinary people were covered with white paper. Although it was just hemp paper, it was still paper. It was light and easy to record. Wasn't it better than animal skin? This time, it was Mayer's turn to look at Wang Sheng like he was an idiot. After looking at Wang Sheng up and down for a while, she finally giggled and asked, "What's the advantage of using paper?" "It's light and simple. Isn't it easy to bind it into a book?" Wang Sheng casually mentioned the advantages of paper. "You think the paper you used is good?" Mayer asked with a smile, covering her mouth. When asked about the quality of paper, Wang Sheng directly shook his head. It was just the most basic hemp paper. It wasn't even as good as the worst paper Wang Sheng had used on Earth. It was crisp and brittle. If he used a little more force, it would break into pieces. He had wasted a lot for Wang Sheng. "Isn't that it?" Mayer glanced at Wang Sheng with her mesmerizing peach blossom eyes. "The animal skin is well tanned. It's soft and light. It's not easy to damage. When necessary, it can be washed and rewritten. How is it worse than paper?" Wang Sheng wanted to scold Mayer that it was not environmentally friendly to use real leather. But when he thought about the paper-making industry, he could only shake his head. It was not much better than paper. "What? Do you have a way to make good paper?" Mayer was a smart person in business. She guessed Wang Sheng's little abacus at once. Her eyes suddenly lit up. "If you have a good way to make good paper, it will also be a good business." Wang Sheng could turn black coarse sugar into snow-white frosting, and he could turn bitter coarse salt into snow-white fine salt. How could he know that a method of making good paper was strange? "Well, let me think about it." Wang Sheng lowered his head and pondered for a moment. He couldn't help but shake his head. "Forget it. I'll just do it on a small scale. I'll focus my energy on the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone series of literary toys. This was a big business on Earth. Scholars loved it the most. Mayer immediately forgot about teasing Wang Sheng. She began to think about the possibility of these literary toys that Wang Sheng had mentioned. If it was done well, it would be a big business, at least in the capital. While the little demon girl wasn't paying attention to him, Wang Sheng got up and left. Just as he reached the door, he heard Mayer's sweet voice that could make one's bones feel lighter. "Marquis, won't you be staying tonight?" Wang Sheng felt goosebumps rising all over his body when he heard her soft voice, which was full of twists and turns. Like a rabbit that had been shot by an arrow, Wang Sheng ran out of the sleeping chamber. A peal of bell-like laughter came from the sleeping chamber. However, this cheerful and joyful laughter was more terrifying than the voice just now. Wang Sheng fled to the practice room. He repeated the 9 words mantra several times to suppress the surging blood in his body. Strange. Why did he forget the 9 words mantra in front of Mayer? Wang Sheng was puzzled. He once again slept alone on the hard bed in the practice room. Early in the morning, Wang Sheng greeted Steward Wang, who was serving not far away. He didn't say goodbye to anyone else and directly walked out of the Marquis's mansion and went straight out of the city. If he really stayed in the mansion for a few more days, Wang Sheng didn't know if he could resist the temptation of Mayer. There weren't many people going out of the city early in the morning. Wang Sheng was happy and leisurely. He looked around as he walked. There were still dozens of miles to go to the Laojun Temple. With Wang Sheng's walking speed, it would be good if he arrived in the afternoon. Wang Sheng originally thought that he would only see the old Taoist in the evening. However, when he was less than 5 miles out of the capital city gate, he saw the figure of the old Taoist in a small Taoist temple by the roadside. The old Taoist was taking the pulse of an old man. He looked up and saw Wang Sheng's figure. He waved at him to come over. Seeing this posture, Wang Sheng understood that the old Taoist had encountered difficulties when practicing the disposition formula. He said that he would learn medicine when he came back. Perhaps feeling the pulse of the old man was the result of his learning during this period of time. Watching the old Taoist skillfully look, listen, question, and feel the pulse, Wang Sheng then wrote a prescription for the old man. After exhorting him and sending him away, Wang Sheng said jokingly, "Old Taoist, it's only been a few days. You've learned well. You're quite good. It's just some minor diseases that I can see," the old Taoist said modestly. Then he looked at Wang Sheng with a playful smile and asked, "That little girl with the phantom fox's soul is naturally charming and has an extreme body. She's so beautiful. She's already living in your bedroom, waiting for you. Why haven't you eaten the little girl yet?" Marquis. Chapter 447. Damn it. Another damn peeping Tom. If he didn't peep, how would the old Taoist know that Mayer had stayed in his bedroom and even seduced him? However, the old Taoist was still fine. He had made it clear the moment they met, and it was obvious that he didn't intend to ruin his plans under those circumstances. Therefore, he only gave him a middle finger this time. He took the bowl of water from the old Taoist and gulped down half of it. Only then did Wang Sheng put down the bowl and let out a long sigh. The land of gentleness is the grave of a hero. If I had taken Mayer, I don't know if I would still have the determination to explore the core secret of the land of thousand despair. The land of gentleness is the grave of a hero. Well said. The old Taoist chewed on Wang Sheng's words. The more he listened, the more he felt that it made sense. Finally, he shook his head and said, "Interesting. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and bring out the good wine." The old Taoist was in high spirits when he suddenly felt that something was missing. He glared at Wang Sheng and shouted, "Since you're going to look for me, you want to enter the Laojun Temple without bringing good wine? It's boring to drink here. It's better to taste the wine in the Hall of Scriptures in the Laojun Temple." Wang Sheng took out a small bottle and handed it to the old Taoist. This was not the time to drink, so the small bottle was just for show. The old Taoist picked up the bottle and poured the wine into his mouth. He smacked his lips and looked around. He nodded decisively and agreed, "Indeed, it's lacking a little. Let's go back to the Hall of Scriptures and drink." The two rebellious fellows didn't feel that there was anything wrong with drinking and eating in the Laojun Temple, the most solemn place in Taoism. They did what they wanted to do. It was more enjoyable there. This was also one of the reasons why the two of them were like birds of feather. They didn't care much about the etiquette of the world. The difference was that the old Taoist had already transcended all restraints and had enough strength to despise the etiquette of the world. On the other hand, Wang Sheng came from another place and had never been influenced by the etiquette of this world. Wang Sheng did not say why they had to go to the Great Hall of the Scriptures. The old Taoist did not ask either. The two of them did not care about anything in this small Taoist temple. They walked as if they were flying, heading straight for the Laojun Temple in the suburbs of the capital. Fortunately, you held back and didn't touch that little girl. On the way, the old Taoist didn't forget to tell Wang Sheng about Mei. What? Is there anything wrong with moving it? Wang Sheng was stunned and asked quickly. There's nothing wrong with it. The old Taoist explained as he walked. Didn't I tell you? That little girl is naturally seductive, and she has a unique soul like the illusion spiritual fox. With these complementing each other, once your heart is moved, the delicate body of a virgin is simply wonderful. For a man, that is the supreme enjoyment. I guarantee that you won't remember the Laojun Temple in 30 days. Sigh. I knew it. The land of tenderness is the grave of a hero. Wang Sheng sighed. Fortunately, I held back. But it's not just that, right? Of course. The old Taoist continued to explain. The illusion spiritual fox is extremely seductive. Those who are not born with the Yin body cannot be attracted. To be able to use the illusion spiritual fox as a soul, it means that she was born with an extreme Yin body. Coupled with her seductive nature, once a man touches her below the 8th degree realm, he will be completely attracted to her and can't stop. If you do it a few more times, I'm afraid you will lose your sense of self and will only listen to everything she says. The old Taoist was not afraid to make things more serious and let Wang Sheng understand how dangerous he was. It can't be. Wang Sheng didn't think that the little girl was actually so dangerous. Fortunately, he resisted the temptation and didn't get moved. Otherwise, wouldn't he be sinking under Mei Er's skirt? Could it be that there was no trust between people and had to use such means? The little girl probably doesn't know how big her joke is. The old Taoist seemed to understand what Wang Sheng was thinking and explained. Otherwise, she wouldn't dare to seduce you even if you beat her to death. The illusion spiritual fox, the extreme Yin body, and the innate seductive nature. It's not like there's no price. What price? Wang Sheng asked curiously. If Mei Er didn't know, then it was understandable. You will lose yourself, and she may not be that good. The old Taoist sighed. Her heart will be tied to you from now on, and she will be unable to extricate herself. You treat her like everything, and she will treat you with everything. If you really like her, you might as well accept her. Both physically and mentally, you will enjoy it for a lifetime. From then on, you will be a husband and a wife, loving each other for a lifetime. You will be a celestial couple. If this was the result, it would be really wonderful. When Wang Sheng thought of this, the incomparably charming face and body of Mei Er appeared in front of him again, but it was soon replaced by the pair of beautiful eyes of the girl in his dream. Confrontation. Wang Sheng said the confrontation formula, and his mind became clearer. That kind of future was wonderful, but it was not necessarily what he wanted. By the way, old Taoist, your Taoist temple collects the information about the innate seductive nature and extreme Yin body when you have nothing to do. Do you think of anything good every day? After Wang Sheng's mind became clear, he began to joke with the old Taoist again. We didn't collect it on purpose. The old Taoist also explained in a joking tone. There was an old case in the royal family that year which was related to the innate seductive nature. Related to the royal family? Wang Sheng had been in contact with the emperor recently, so he had to listen to this gossip carefully. Maybe it would be useful to him. Wang Sheng immediately urged, "Tell me quickly, don't keep me guessing." It's not long ago. It was about 10 or 20 years ago. The old Taoist knew the essence of gossip, so he controlled his tone just right. The current emperor, who was the former emperor, had a favorite concubine. It was said that she was born with seductive nature. For a long time, the emperor was addicted to the side of that favorite concubine. He was so fascinated that he didn't even bother to ask about the state affairs. The old Taoist showed a nostalgic look on his face. Later, the empress couldn't bear it anymore. She invited an expert to look at the face of that favorite concubine from a distance. After knowing that she was born with seductive nature and charmed the emperor, she took the opportunity to pull the emperor to the empress and told the emperor the truth. She also invited several elders of the imperial clan court to pressure the emperor. Of course, the emperor didn't believe it at that time. However, several elders of the imperial clan court used the excuse that they wanted the emperor to cultivate a great wisdom skill and imprisoned him for half a month. Speaking of the secrets of the royal family, the old Taoist spoke with great relish as if he had seen it with his own eyes. The empress secretly sent someone to assassinate that favorite concubine. Guess what happened? She was killed. Wang Sheng answered quickly. If the empress wanted to kill a favorite concubine in the palace, and she had the help of several elders of the imperial clan court, was there even a need to ask? None of the experts that were sent out could bear to kill her. The old Taoists laughed. When they saw that favorite concubine, their hearts softened. In the end, the empress had no choice but to send a eunuch with a high level of cultivation, which finally solved the problem. Chapter 448. Wait. Wang Sheng suddenly stopped the old Taoist and quickly interrupted. Don't tell me that in the end, this eunuch was chased by the emperor and had no choice but to escape to Carefree City. Why was his plot so familiar? It was not much different from the story of Wang Sheng's neighbor in Carefree City, the old shadow eunuch. If one did not look at the inside story, it was exactly the same. Of course, the old Taoist glanced at Wang Sheng. After killing the emperor's favorite concubine, would there be a place for him in this big world? Other than Carefree City, where else could he go? Sure enough, this story was really related to the old shadow eunuch. But it was still not right. If the old shadow eunuch killed the emperor's favorite concubine, wouldn't the emperor hate the old shadow eunuch to the bone? But looking at the old shadow eunuch's appearance, he was clearly loyal to the emperor and could not wait to die for the emperor. How could it be that the emperor wanted to kill the old shadow eunuch? Then the emperor just tolerated it. Wang Sheng did not believe it. The current emperor was someone who was willing to kill his own son to buy people's hearts. How could he be a good person? If someone really killed his favorite concubine, even if the old shadow eunuch escaped to Carefree City, with old monster Li's cultivation 10 or 20 years ago, would he not be able to kill the old shadow eunuch in Carefree City? How is that possible? The old Taoist curled his lips. Our current emperor is not a good person. At that time, he indeed tolerated it. Then, in less than 2 years, he abolished all the elders of the imperial clan court who were involved at that time. Another 2 years later, he also abolished the empress. It was said that the empress's family was involved in the crime of treason and was executed. The old men of the imperial clan court were all dead in less than 5 years. The current empress is a new favorite concubine who was later promoted to the palace. Our emperor can be so awesome. Wang Sheng wanted to give him a thumbs up in admiration. It was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge, but the emperor only used 5 years to take revenge. He had no choice but to be convinced. What happened after that? Wang Sheng simply listened to the story and said the classic words to urge for more updates. Later on, the Son of Heaven worked hard. Not only did he diligently cultivate Xianqi, he also worked hard. The old Taoist said slowly, in just 15 or 16 years, this grand ceremony of enfeoffment of feudal vassals was created. The prestige of the royal family soared, and all the feudal vassals scrambled to curry favor with them. This, Wang Sheng couldn't help but say in disdain, is this great ceremony of enfeoffment an idea of the Son of Heaven? It's obviously mine. However, for Tianzi to be able to execute it so thoroughly, it was also extremely powerful. Thinking of this, Wang Sheng thought of another problem. How was Tianzi's cultivation at that time? Wang Sheng asked, since you don't have to worry about raising your cultivation, then wouldn't it be fine as long as the Son of Heaven increases his cultivation? At that time, Tianzi was at most in the 4th stage. The old Taoist shook his head. However, the Son of Heaven's cultivation technique definitely doesn't require fighting and killing. As long as it can strengthen your willpower and increase your wisdom, it will be fine. If you were to cultivate the Son of Heaven's cultivation technique, then you don't need to reach the 8th stage. At most, you will be able to subdue that girl at the 6th stage. What about now? Can you see the Son of Heaven's current cultivation? Wang Sheng asked again. This question was very inexplicable. The old Taoist didn't say that he could see the Son of Heaven for no reason. How could he know the Son of Heaven's cultivation? However, Wang Sheng didn't care about this at all. If the old Taoist really wanted to see the Son of Heaven, it would really be a matter of a word. Even after he had seen the Son of Heaven and the surrounding people didn't notice him. The Son of Heaven should be around the 7th stage now. The old Taoist indeed knew about it. He even gave a targeted comment. However, that cultivation technique of his, as far as I know, had reached the 6th stage more than 10 years ago. However, after more than 10 years, it only increased by 1 stage. The Son of Heaven's cultivation is not that good. When he thought that the Son of Heaven who was sitting and chatting with him, pretending to be a businessman, was actually a 7th stage expert, Wang Sheng also felt a burst of fear. However, when he thought about the old Taoist saying that the Son of Heaven's cultivation technique wasn't used for fighting, Wang Sheng let out a sigh of relief. Something was wrong. This was definitely not right. Wang Sheng quickly analyzed the unreasonable parts. After pondering for a while, he then asked curiously, at the beginning, when the concubine died, the Son of Heaven was only in the 4th stage. However, according to your calculations, in less than 3 to 4 years, the Son of Heaven advanced from the 4th stage to the 6th stage. After that, it took more than 10 years for him to advance by 1 stage. Could it be that he was a cultivation genius, and then he couldn't do it anymore? Don't forget the nature of the Son of Heaven's cultivation technique. The old Taoist wasn't surprised by this. After losing the concubine, the emperor's state of mind went through ups and downs. It was in line with the extreme perception of gain and loss. What's so strange about him advancing to the 6th stage in a short period of time? Later, he trusted a new concubine, and his mood was no longer good. Naturally, his progress slowed down. The old Taoist said it as a matter of course. Wang Sheng also felt that it was a matter of course when he heard it. However, the old Taoist didn't know the current relationship between the shadow eunuch and the Son of Heaven. Therefore, he simply thought that the shadow eunuch killed the naturally charming concubine to make the Son of Heaven work hard. However, the truth was definitely not like that. There was definitely a story behind it. Moreover, it was a story that even the old Taoist didn't know. Wang Sheng's gossipy heart was itching for a while. Unfortunately, he couldn't talk about this with the old Taoist now. He had to wait for a chance in the future to slowly explore the gossip of the royal family. Say, with my current cultivation, if I add the 9 words incantation, at what stage will I be able to touch that girl? Wang Sheng was curious and asked the old Taoist excitedly. If you add the 9 words incantation, the old Taoist stroked his beard and slowly pondered for a while. Then, he gave an affirmative answer. The 7th stage is definitely not a problem. As for the 6th stage, we'll have to give it a try. Why can't you hold back? No hurry, no hurry. Wang Sheng hurriedly cleared himself. He didn't seem to be someone who was in a rush for sex, right? The old Taoist didn't care about the relationship between Wang Sheng and Meyer. He just asked, "All right, why did you look for me this time?" Seeing that half of the Laojun temple had left, he knew in advance what Wang Sheng's plan was, so he could go back and make arrangements as early as possible. Last time when I accompanied Meyer and the others into the place of Thousand Despair, I seemed to have touched the edge of the Xing formula. Wang Sheng told the truth and said to the old Taoist, "I look for you to see if you can help me study it. Once I understand the Xing formula, I can advance. I'm afraid I'll need your help then." "Then what are you waiting for? It's a waste of time talking nonsense." Hearing that it was related to the Xing formula, and that Wang Sheng had touched the edge of the Xing formula, the old Taoist suddenly became excited. He hated the time wasted talking about gossip with Wang Sheng. Hurry up, the old Taoist urged. He quickened his pace and asked Wang Sheng to tell the story. What did you experience? How did you feel it? Chapter 449. The old Taoist had no choice but to pay attention to it. The Buddhist incantation of 9 words was an extremely pure Taoist mental cultivation method. With the old Taoist knowledge of Taoist scriptures, it was impossible for him to make a mistake. Although it was created by Wang Sheng, and Wang Sheng was the first to successfully cultivate it, this did not prevent the old Taoist from planning to pass down the Buddhist incantation of 9 words as the most orthodox mental cultivation method of the Laojun Temple. The only problem now was that Wang Sheng had only comprehended 8 words of the Buddhist incantation of 9 words. He still lacked the Xing formula. The old Taoist was even worse. Not only was the effect of every word worse than Wang Sheng's, but he also hadn't reached the end of the live formula. These days, the old Taoist returned to the Laojun Temple and immediately flipped through the medical books. He learned medicine from a few young Taoists with superb medical skills. The old Taoist was the ancestor of the Laojun Temple. If he wanted to learn medicine, no one would stop him. The temple master even searched for a few famous doctors from all over the world to teach him. In just a little over a month, the old Taoist was able to treat some old farmers who were suffering from headaches and fevers. These were all trivial matters. The most important thing was that the old Taoist had a feeling about the live formula. Just like Wang Sheng, he had touched the edge. Just when he was feeling happy, the people of the Laojun Temple discovered a big movement in the capital. Hundreds of people were beheaded and 4 important ministers had their properties confiscated. After investigation, they found out that it was Wang Sheng who had come to the capital and caused such a big movement. How could the old Taoist not come to take a look when he heard the news? However, he didn't come to see Wang Sheng on the first day when he was facing Mei Er and fled. He only went to Wang Sheng's residence last night and saw that scene. He also saw Mei Er's face. Speaking of which, what happened to your vigilance in the grounds of despair? The old Taoist didn't forget to nag as he walked. I've been watching you for a long time in the Marquis's residence, but you didn't notice anything. This was also what the old Taoist found strange. In the land of 1,000 extremities, Wang Sheng and the old Taoist would notice the slightest disturbance at the same time. Why did Wang Sheng's vigilance drop so much at the Marquis's residence? You're still talking. Just talking about it makes me so angry. Wang Sheng replied angrily. It is a fact that our Son of Heaven gave me a Marquis's mansion, but he still stuffed hundreds of people into it. I think half of them are the eyes and ears of the royal family. He didn't let any of the beautiful maidservants in the sleeping chambers escape. Every single one of them is counted as one. They're all eyes and ears that pass on information. What am I guarding against? What's there to defend against? Hearing Wang Sheng's answer, the old Taoist immediately understood. It was a simple logic. If there were too many lice, there was no need to worry. If there were too many debts, there was no need to worry. Since they were all eyes and ears, why would Wang Sheng care about one more or one less? He would definitely ignore all of them. It was normal that the old Taoist didn't see him peeping. All right, don't peep into my house in the future. Wang Sheng bluntly warned the old Taoist. Those beauties are all mine. You're a monk, old Taoist. What's the point of peeping at beauties all the time? Before Mei Er seduced me, she would take a bath and change her clothes. Don't tell me you also peeped. You old sex fiend. TSK, if an old man like me wants beauties, what kind of beauties can I find? The old Taoist proudly retorted. Only a fool and mediocre like you wouldn't dare to touch a warm and fragrant jade in your arms. If it were an old man like me, I would have already flown away with you. This was ridiculing him for not daring to touch beauties because of his low cultivation. How could this be tolerated? Wang Sheng suddenly became furious. He argued with the old Taoist all the way. Unknowingly, he had also arrived at the Laojun Temple. Looking at the time, it was just past noon. At least half the time was saved. Both of them hadn't eaten yet, so they simply got into position and ate and drank to their heart's content in the scripture depository. This was not the first time the few Taoist priests in charge of the scripture depository had seen this scene. But facing ancestor Ling Su, they didn't dare to say a word of nonsense and could only watch them being so presumptuous. "Tell me what's going on. Tell me in detail." The old Taoist drove the few eyesores out, leaving only Wang Sheng and himself. Only then did he put away his playful and angry face and became serious. Wang Sheng didn't hide anything and told him what had happened. The old Taoist already knew the reason. He was present at that time, but he just wanted to come back and study the Lie word formula, so he didn't follow Wang Sheng. Hearing about the internal strife of the Baoqin Yutang, the old Taoist wasn't surprised at all. At his age, he had seen many such things. There were even more outrageous fights between biological fathers and sons, not to mention a fight between a son and an adopted daughter. He didn't say what happened on the way. He only said that after entering the underground palace, he heard that Wang Sheng carried Mei air and ran over the fire vein of the earth fire. The old Taoist's expression changed. What would happen if those people ran over with you? The old Taoist was also pondering over the reason and didn't forget to ask Wang Sheng. This was the good thing about the old Taoist. He never pretended to know what he didn't know and was not ashamed to ask. "Burn them to ashes." Wang Sheng answered without hesitation. "Even if they can run over, they will definitely be severely burned. Whether they can survive depends on luck." "Run over the earth fire? What's the reason?" The old Taoist started to get to the bottom of it. Wang Sheng, on the other hand, smiled. Wang Sheng wouldn't easily tell others about this life-saving method, even if it was the old Taoist. The old Taoist obviously wanted to record it and pass it on to the Laojun Taoist. Wang Sheng wouldn't teach it casually. In the words of the old Taoist, this method shouldn't be passed on lightly. "Tell me, what's the condition?" The old Taoist asked lazily. He knew what Wang Sheng wanted to do when he saw Wang Sheng like this, so he asked directly. "Your Laojun Taoist needs to find a few pharmacists to teach me how to distinguish medicinal herbs," Wang Sheng said without hesitation. "Sure." The old Taoist agreed without hesitation. This condition couldn't be any simpler. Wasn't it just distinguishing medicinal herbs? Among the Taoist priests with excellent medical skills in the Laojun Taoist, there were at least 200 who could crush Wang Sheng in this aspect. Any one of them could make Wang Sheng vomit. Therefore, Wang Sheng began to explain the principle of the earth fire, how to distinguish the temperature, how to run over quickly, how to make water in time to reduce the temperature of the earth fire, and so on. Of course, the most important thing was that it couldn't be too long. It's very simple. The old Taoist listened and didn't think it was complicated. He suspected that Wang Sheng was using this to blackmail him. There are too many simple things. Wang Sheng ignored him and continued, "But some people think of it, and some don't. That's the difference." The old Taoist pondered for a while and felt that it really made sense. Some things were really that simple, but no one thought of it. For example, the earth fire. Wang Sheng continued. When the old Taoist heard that Wang Sheng was trapped in the underground palace and that he used the formation formula to resonate with the formation in a hurry, he couldn't help but stand up. "I see." Everyone saw the old Taoist sergeant's actions. How could they not know that Wang Sheng might be doing something important? At that moment, they didn't complain anymore. They just watched as Wang Sheng closed his eyes and pretended to be mysterious. Yes, in the eyes of the middle-aged Taoist sergeants, Wang Sheng was pretending to be mysterious. If you want to test your cultivation, then use all your strength to attack. If you want to study the structure of the formation, then communicate with the person who set it up. What's the point of standing here with your eyes closed and not moving? Time passed again. In the blink of an eye, almost an hour had passed. Just as everyone was about to lose their patience, Wang Sheng made his move. Standing in the same place, Wang Sheng opened his eyes. He then raised his arm and slowly stretched it forward. His feet also began to move slowly. After taking 2 steps, he stopped in a place, as if there was something in front of him blocking his way. This was a binding formation. It was normal for it to be blocked, right? Everyone stared at Wang Sheng, waiting to see what he would do next. Wang Xing didn't disappoint them. After a pause, his feet continued to move forward. His extended hand slowly moved forward again. The invisible barrier that had blocked him just now seemed to have disappeared. They watched as Wang Sheng kept moving forward. He only stopped when he was about to reach the old Taoist Ling Su. What was this? Was he walking for everyone to see? One of the Taoist sergeants was about to belittle him when he suddenly realized that Wang Sheng had just been sealed in a binding formation by them. How'd he get to the other side? Could it be that the formation had lost its effect? But whether it was his own feeling or the state shown on the formation stone, it showed that the binding formation had been operating continuously. One of them didn't believe it. Feelings could be wrong, and so could the formation stone, but human touch could not. He also imitated Wang Sheng and stretched out his hand to move forward. After a few steps, his hand was blocked by an invisible barrier. He pushed hard, but the barrier didn't move. This invisible barrier was clearly the binding formation that they had activated. But how did Wang Sheng get out of that circle? Who saw it clearly? Just when everyone was puzzled, the old Taoist sergeant spoke again, changed to a more powerful, advanced formation. Don't improve the formation too much. Do it one at a time. Sure enough, it was something related to a race. Everyone finally came to a sudden realization. This time, they were no longer confused. Instead, they strengthened the binding formation. Wang Sheng entered the formation again. After another hour, he slowly walked out of the formation with his hand outstretched. The binding formation itself was not damaged at all. How did you do it? The oldest middle-aged Taoist sergeants looked at Wang Sheng in a daze and asked in disbelief. He had studied formations for decades and had personally set up at least 8,000, if not 10,000. But he had never seen such an incredible technique. It seemed that the binding formation was not a problem for Wang Sheng at all. Change the protective formation. The old Taoist sergeants asked another question. Everyone was in high spirits. They excitedly set up another formation and watched Wang Sheng try it. When Wang Sheng succeeded again, not only the middle-aged Taoist sergeants in charge of setting up the formation, even the Abbey Dean's eyes lit up. Ancestor, can this be used on the other side? The Abbey Dean asked the old Taoist Ling Su in a low voice excitedly. It's possible. Old Taoist Ling Su nodded slowly. Let's try each formation one by one. Maybe it will work. Well, when it's about time, call them back and we'll discuss it together. This time, the Abbey Dean was even more agitated. He immediately went out and sent someone to call back the Abbey Dean who was in charge of the Three Purities Temple. He also specially reminded the two young Taoist sergeants that it was an urgent matter. It was related to the inheritance of the great Tao, and he wanted the Abbey Dean to return as soon as possible. When Wang Sheng broke through the 10th formation without resting, there was no longer just one Abbey Dean by old Taoist Ling Su's side. Instead, all the Abbey Dean Wang Sheng had seen after he finished carving the statue of Lao Zi had appeared. Every Abbey Dean seemed to be brimming with excitement and agitation, as if something big was about to happen. Chapter 451. Wang Sheng was not angry at being treated like a monkey and experimented with one formation after another. On the contrary, he was enjoying it. This was because from his second formation onwards, Wang Sheng discovered that the attainment character on the giant tablet in his origin soul space was slightly brighter than it was at the beginning. If this was just a psychological illusion of Wang Sheng, then when Wang Sheng paid special attention to the third formation, he confirmed this point. Every time he felt and integrated a new formation, the attainment character on Wang Sheng's giant monument would light up a little. This also meant that if Wang Sheng wanted to practice the attainment formula to the same level as the other 8 characters, he would need to ponder over a lot of formations. The continuous use of different formations made the attainment character become ordinary and dim, instead of just a trace of light. At the same time, the attainment formula seemed to have become more proficient because of Wang Sheng's repeated use. The most obvious change was in the time. At the beginning, the most basic binding formation, Wang Sheng took the shortest time, less than an hour. But the second binding formation, which was more complicated than the first, took the same time for Wang Sheng. Outsiders might not see any difference, but the more complicated formation took the same time as the simple formation, which in itself showed that Wang Sheng was improving. In order to verify this, during this period, Wang Sheng deliberately asked several formation masters to rearrange the first most basic binding formation. Wang Sheng used his military watch to time, and it was indeed 2 minutes less than the first time. 2 minutes compared to an hour did not seem much, but this was a real improvement, especially in the case of Wang Sheng, a pure layman in the formation. Being able to do this was a miracle in the eyes of the Taoists. Old Taoist Ling Su was fine, but what did the expressions on the faces of the hall masters who rushed over mean? Wang Sheng did not understand, but he could see that they were full of expectations. In any case, with the old Taoist Ling Su around, Wang Sheng would not be at a disadvantage. It would not be easy for Wang Sheng to find so many array masters by himself. With the help of a rich and powerful force like the Laojun Temple, Wang Sheng could save a lot of effort. For more than 10 consecutive hours, in addition to the time spent by the array formation masters, Wang Sheng used the traveling symbol art. After breaking 10 array formations in a row, Wang Sheng could be considered to have reached his limit. Even if his body still had enough strength, he was mentally exhausted. The row formula required Wang Sheng to feel the complex fluctuations of the array. Every time, it required Wang Sheng's full concentration. To be able to persist for such a long time, Wang Sheng's willpower was already very strong, and he was full of energy. When he saw the excited expressions of the hall masters, Wang Sheng came out of the array. He was so sleepy that he did not want to say a word. He directly sat on a futon at the entrance of the Sutras depository, leaned against the pillar, and began to sleep. The eldest hall master looked at Wang Sheng's appearance and asked with some expectation and worry, "Ancestor, is it possible for him to do this?" "I don't know. Let's start with the easy ones and try them one by one." Old Taoist Ling Su also knew the principle of gradual progress, but he did not dare to guarantee that it would be possible. He could only say that he would try. The group of hall masters finally tasted the feeling of restlessness today. Wang Sheng was exhausted to the extreme and slept soundly without a care in the world. However, they could not be so idle. It was obvious that Wang Sheng's experiment required more and more complex arrays, which required more and more array masters. Therefore, the Laojun Temple immediately issued an order for all Taoists who knew arrays to gather at the Laojun Temple on the outskirts of the capital and bring their proudest array works, the more the better. Wang Sheng slept for more than 10 hours before he woke up. When he woke up, he was actually still sitting on the futon outside the Sutras depository. He could not help but be impolite to the old Taoist Ling Su who came. "You really don't know how to entertain your guests. Is there a master who lets his guests sleep against the pillar for half a day?" Wang Sheng's mouth was full of food, and all he spat out was complaints. "You still dare to say that?" It would have been better if the old Taoist had not mentioned it. Once he did, he almost got angry with Wang Sheng. No matter who goes over to help you, not to mention moving you to the bed, even if they get close and cover you with something, you will be ready to attack at any time. How afraid are you of death? Others might not know how terrifying Wang Sheng's attack was, but how could the old Taoist not know? Therefore, seeing this situation, he simply did not care and let Wang Sheng lean against the pillar. It turned out that it was because of him. Wang Sheng laughed awkwardly a few times and did not say anything. The old Taoist waited for him to finish eating and did not say a word to him. "By the way, what do you need from me?" Wang Sheng ate and drank to his heart's content. He asked the old Taoist, "Yesterday, both the senior and junior temple masters were here. Is there something urgent?" There wasn't originally, but after discovering the magical effects of your Xing formula, there was. The old Taoist did not hide it. Anyway, this matter had to be said sooner or later. There was no difference in saying it now. It could also allow Wang Sheng to be prepared. "I want to ask you to try and see if you can enter a formation. It's that simple." Wang Sheng could not believe that so many temple masters had gathered together for such a small matter. Simple? The old Taoist did not have such a big tone as Wang Sheng. It's not simple at all. In the entire Taoist temple, including me, the old Taoist, no one can enter that formation. They can't even destroy it. Do you still think it's simple? Even you can't destroy it. Wang Sheng looked at the old Taoist with a little surprise. Are you still the same as before? Now, the old Taoist did not hesitate at all and gave the answer directly. Even if you've already advanced and used the 9 words of incantation, Wang Sheng was a little incredulous. If the old Taoist could not destroy it with his current cultivation, what kind of formation was that? One had to know that the old Taoist was probably not just in the 10th stage. It was very likely that he was an unprecedented 11th stage epic master. What 9th stage legendary master? A dozen of them were not even enough to defeat the old Taoist. How could such an old Taoist not be able to destroy a formation? What kind of joke was this? You can't bear to give up your Taoist temple's property, right? Wang Sheng still could not believe it. So you don't dare to go all out? I can only guarantee that I won't get hurt if I go all out. The old Taoist replied very seriously. How about it? Do you dare to give such a formation a try? I couldn't ask for more. When Wang Sheng heard that there was such a powerful formation, he was simply excited. If he could break through such a formation, then the Xing character formula would definitely be successful. Wang Sheng even could not wait to face that formation. What's inside the formation? The core inheritance of our Taoist temple. The old Taoist answered seriously without joking at all. Chapter 452. Seeing how serious the old Taoist was, Wang Sheng didn't joke around anymore. This was the core inheritance of such a big Taoist sect that was even more powerful than the super sections. It shouldn't be taken as a joke. Let's go and take a look. Wang Sheng also became serious. He got up and wanted to go and investigate. But when he saw the strange look in the old Taoist's eyes, Wang Sheng realized that he seemed to be a little rash. Before he could prove that he could deal with a formation that was of a lower level than that. This was related to the core inheritance of Taoism. Even among the group of temple masters, there might not be many who knew about it. How could an outsider like Wang Sheng go there directly? With a laugh, Wang Sheng suddenly thought of a question and couldn't help but ask, such a strong formation, what's the source of its power? Don't tell me that there have been hundreds of experts continuously transferring spiritual energy into it for generations in your Taoist sect? It's not only the underground palace that you found that has the earth-fire vein, the old Taoist replied to Wang Sheng in a bad mood. In fact, many places have it. Do you really think that the core of the grounds of Thousand Despair is still working after so many years because there are experts who are still alive to transfer spiritual energy into it? No wonder you wanted to ask me for the method to walk on the earth-fire vein. Wang Sheng pointed at the old Taoist. So you were waiting for me here. Although the two of them were considered friends, sometimes they couldn't help but think for each other. They were humans, after all. Moreover, the old Taoist didn't ask for his method for free. He had agreed to his conditions, so there was no problem. Does your Xing character formula have to take so much time? The old Taoist obviously felt that Wang Sheng needed about an hour for each formation was a little inefficient, especially when Wang Sheng had to be undisturbed when using the Xing formula. This made the old Taoist feel that the Xing formula was of little value. There's no other way. Wang Sheng spread his hands, indicating that he didn't have a better idea. Firstly, I haven't seen enough formations. Secondly, I don't understand formations at all. I've only succeeded time and time again by sheer luck. There's no way I can be faster. After saying that, Wang Sheng was afraid that the old Taoist would misunderstand, so he continued to explain, the main reason I comprehended the row formula was to advance my cultivation. I didn't think about formations. Therefore, as long as I can understand a little more and familiarize myself with it, it will be enough. There is no need to delve into it. Wang Sheng, who came from Earth, understood better than anyone the truth that my life is limited, but knowledge is boundless. There were a lot of professional knowledge from all walks of life on Earth. It was impossible for a person to master all of them. Although Wang Sheng had mastered many skills through various methods in the Special Forces training, such as the use of various weapons, vehicles, camouflage skills, wilderness survival skills, and so on, Wang Sheng had only learned how to use them. It was impossible for him to delve into the various principles. Could it be that when Wang Sheng learned firearms in the army, he also had to learn firearms manufacturing, steel-making, high-precision machine tool design, the chemical principles of various gunpowder, the principles of various primers, the flow dynamics of various warheads in the air, the thermal fatigue of metals, the static motion of rifle wire rotation, and so on? If he really wanted to learn these, Wang Sheng would not be able to leave the military camp for decades, let alone complete the training in a few years. Therefore, Wang Sheng only needed to know the final usage. He did not need to consider the process in the middle. It was the same for the Xing formula. As long as Wang Sheng knew how to use it, he did not need to know the detailed principles. This is too inefficient. The old Taoist understood what Wang Sheng meant. He did not have the intention to urge Wang Sheng to do anything. He just wanted to help Wang Sheng. How about this? I'll let the few young Taoist priests who specialize in formations explain the most basic things about formations to you. I believe it will be more helpful for you to understand the Xing formula. The most basic things? That's no problem. Wang Sheng thanked the old Taoist. When learning to shoot, one needed to know the principle of 3 points and 1 line. One also needed to know the influencing factors such as wind resistance, gravity, temperature, and humidity. Learning some basic principles would only be beneficial for understanding the use of the Xing formula. The old Taoist acted quickly. In a short while, he gathered the 4 or 5 middle-aged Taoist priests from yesterday and gave them a task to teach Wang Sheng about formations. It was really a literacy. After Wang Sheng heard about the step-by-step steps needed to practice formations, Wang Sheng decided that he would only learn the most basic principles and the most basic techniques. He would not learn anything else. The basic principles were still the use of spiritual energy. With the help of some exquisite formations, various functions could be achieved. The most basic functions that could be achieved were binding, protecting, blocking, shielding, concealing, extracting, blinding, rebounding, condensing, blowing, impacting, stabbing, grinding, and so on. Any formation, no matter how complicated, could be summed up in the integration of these basic formation elements. Wang Sheng quickly understood this. He even regretted not knowing this earlier. If he had known earlier, there would have been no need for him to test out the complicated formations one by one. Instead, he would have started with the most basic functions, using the row formula to study them one by one. As long as he could familiarize himself with these basic functions, no matter how complicated the formations were, he would be able to follow them in an orderly fashion. Wang Sheng would not have to be as clueless as he was now. He would have to memorize all the fluctuations and changes of the formations and simulate them. For each basic function, Wang Sheng asked several middle-aged Taoist priests to demonstrate it to him several times. Every time, Wang Sheng had to use the Xing formula to study for a long time to memorize all these basic fluctuations. It took him half a month to understand each of the basic techniques. Of course, Wang Sheng only memorized the fluctuations of these basic techniques. He did not completely understand the principles of these formations. In half a month, the old Taoist only came to find Wang Sheng once. It seemed that he was busy with something. Wang Sheng did not think too much about it and continued to comprehend. After learning the basic techniques, he began to learn the 2-on-2 combination. At first, Wang Sheng only asked these middle-aged Taoist priests to teach him the basic techniques. However, since no one cared about him, Wang Sheng simply used a few pieces of demon bee skin to exchange for a few middle-aged Taoist priests. According to his request, they taught him the basic techniques of the 2-on-2 combination for him to experiment again, so that Wang Sheng could have a more thorough understanding. This went on for another 10 days. The old Taoist finally appeared in front of Wang Sheng again. What happened? Wang Sheng asked, puzzled. The old Taoist looked very impatient. Could it be that something big had happened that even the old Taoist could not deal with? What the F***CK? It would have been better if he did not say it. When Wang Sheng asked, The old Taoist immediately cursed. Isn't it just those bullish asterisk T power struggles? This is what annoys me the most. It's boring. Chapter 453. As soon as he heard Wang Sheng's words, he knew that it must have something to do with him. Speaking of which, it was a struggle for power and profit. What kind of power and profit did the people of Taoism fight for? What kind of power and profit was more worth fighting for than the core inheritance of Taoism? In the past, no matter how powerful the experts of Taoism were, they could not break the inheritance formation. Therefore, everyone could only watch and drool. No one could do anything. Since no one could get it, no one had any objections. However, things were different now. There was Wang Sheng, an extraordinary person who was said to be able to easily pass through the formation without destroying it. It was possible that the core inheritance could be taken out. Not only was it possible, but it was also very likely because Wang Sheng had already performed it in front of everyone and was unscathed after passing through 10 formations. If they could not get it, they could not get it. If they could get it, who wouldn't want it? Regardless of whether Wang Sheng could go in or not, as long as there was a slight possibility, everyone would fight for it. Even if everyone had a share, what about the priority? What the old Taoist was most displeased with was this kind of behavior. Everyone was from Taoism. Even if their ideas were different, they were still a family. Why do they have to be so clear? However, these juniors usually followed whatever the patriarch said in daily life. It was only when it came to inheritance that the patriarch's words did not work. The old Taoist was so angry that he could not calm down even though he used the confrontation formula. What's there to fight about? Wang Sheng and the old Taoist had the same idea. However, the difference was that Wang Sheng never felt that it was meaningless to argue about who had not gotten what he had not gotten. Just like in the idiom, two brothers started to argue about whether to steam or boil the geese before they could catch them. In the end, the geese flew away and the two did not have a result. It was meaningless. As soon as this sentence came out, the old Taoist suddenly felt like he had a confidant. He was already upset, so he simply pulled Wang Sheng to drink. The two of them once again set up wine and meat in the main hall of the Sutra Depository. The old Taoist drank and cursed at the same time. Finally, he calmed down after venting. I'm almost done here. After experimenting with a few dozen more formations, I think I'll be able to level up. Wang Sheng's original purpose was to level up. Everything else was just a convenience. He did not hide anything from the old Taoist. After I level up, I'll leave. I'll tell them that I can't open that inheritance matrix. Let's see what else they can fight for. Good idea, let's do that. The old Taoist had never thought that the traveling formula could cause such a big mess, so he completely agreed with Wang Sheng's approach. The two of them smiled in satisfaction and drank a big cup. Actually, you've almost finished studying the Buddhist incantation of 9 words. The timing is pretty good, so you might as well pass it on. Wang Sheng saw that the old Taoist was still struggling with the younger generation, so he gave him a bad idea. Aren't they fighting? Great. He cultivated the Buddhist incantation of 9 words. Whoever cultivated the Xing formula to the point where they could enter the formation would get the inheritance. Strength speaks. Others have nothing to say, right? That a good idea. The old Taoist looked at Wang Sheng and suddenly asked, the Buddhist incantation of 9 words was created by you. Teaching it to me is a form of friendship. If I pass it on, it'll be a different matter. It'll be the supreme ancient book of Taoism, a treasure passed down from generation to generation. Think about it carefully. If you have any conditions, just say it. If you don't say it now, I'm afraid it'll be like a regular script in the future. Even if I admit it, those little bastards who are fighting for it will definitely not admit it. Unless you're willing to be my Taoism's protector, otherwise, the Taoism secret manual will never come from the hands of a killer from Carefree City. Even if you're a marquis conferred by the emperor, it won't do. Forget it. Taoism's protector, I'm not interested for the time being. Wang Sheng shook his head. The old Taoist had long wanted Wang Sheng to join the Taoism, but Wang Sheng had always refused. Since you're so sincere in asking me to make a request, then I won't stand on ceremony. Speaking of requests, Wang Sheng could casually make a lot of requests. There are many experts in the Laojun Temple. It's a waste of talent to stay in the Laojun Temple. It's better to let them go out and see the outside world. It's better to stabilize their Taoist hearts. It just so happens that I might be starting a few businesses and need a group of experts to protect me. Look, it's a good opportunity for them to gain experience in the world of mortals. Aren't you tempted? The old Taoist pointed at Wang Sheng and was speechless for a while. It was obviously Wang Sheng who wanted the experts to protect him, but he actually said that it was a chance for him to gain experience in the world of mortals. It was simply shameless. Only the old Taoist would allow Wang Sheng to spout such nonsense. If it were the other temple masters, they would probably have spat on Wang Sheng's face. Gain experience in the world of mortals. Stabilize the Taoist heart. Pondering over these two words, the old Taoist suddenly felt that it was getting more and more interesting. It was really wonderful. Yes, Wang Sheng also said with a little accusation, "What about you, Taoist, old Taoist? You go out when you have nothing to do. You've seen the world and gotten used to people's hearts. You've reached the realm of tranquility and inaction. But how many of those Taoist experts have seen the world like you? They spend most of their lives in the Taoist temple to cultivate. Their state of mind and experience are not enough. So how can they have a Taoist heart? You force people to be tranquil and in action. You've never picked it up, so how can you talk about letting it go?" This was the first time Wang Sheng said this. No one around the old Taoist had ever said this to him. After hearing Wang Sheng's words, the old Taoist was completely stunned. He muttered, "Never picked it up, so how can you talk about letting it go? Never picked it up, so how can you talk about letting it go?" Don't always say that people pursue fame and fortune and indulge in cultivation. Wang Sheng lost no time and continued. If it weren't for these Taoist experts, just you old Taoist would have destroyed the Laojun temple many times over. We don't bully people, but we can't be bullied, right? Some things are not black or white, and not all are wrong. Take those preaching methods that you're not satisfied with, for example. Wang Sheng continued to comment. This was a great opportunity to untie the knot in the old Taoist heart. You said that people indulge in the secular world and forget to concentrate on Taoism. You call this kind of people who never go to prosperous places and only appear in Taoist temples indulging in the secular world? Have you ever been to the secular world? Have you ever been to a brothel? Have you ever spent a lot of gold coins in one go before? Didn't you reach out and take the property that people worked hard to accumulate from the Laojun Temple's treasury? Is this called tranquility and inaction? The old Taoist was furious. When did he reach out and take things from the treasury? Just as he was about to refute, for hammers and a chisel appeared in Wang Sheng's hands. The materials for these hammers and chisels were originally taken from the Laojun Temple's treasury. The evidence was irrefutable. The old Taoist couldn't even open his mouth to argue. Who said that I haven't spent a lot of money? The old Taoist's mouth opened and closed a few times before he finally spat out this sentence. Back in the days when I was in a worry-free city, I was also an infamous person who threw away tens of thousands of gold coins. Back then, when this old Taoist was at my peak, who knows where you little brat was? That's why I said that when you've enjoyed yourself, you have to give others a chance to enjoy themselves. Wang Sheng immediately started talking nonsense again. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.